right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Wednesday, April 30th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live in studio. I'm Clayton.
I'm Pat, and oh man, I'm sweating,
baby.
Clayton. You know why I'm sweating? Not because the lights are so bright, which they are.
Our future's so bright.
Not because our future is so bright, which it is.
Yeah.
Because it's summertime, and that means it's time to preview the summer movie season, and that means it is time for a double episode, and that means it is time to welcome our guest, of course, you know him, you love him, from Exhibitor Relations Co. at ERC Box Office himself, Jeff Bock. Welcome back to the BO Boys.
Oh, guys, it is a pleasure to be here. To all the listeners, look, you don't get the double issue from Entertainment Weekly anymore. You don't get Premiere Magazine anymore, but you get this. This is a supersized BO Boys episode. It could run 2 hours. It might run 3 hours. I don't even know. It's going to be long, though. That I know for sure.
We're covering 4 months, so it might run 4 hours. It might run 4 weeks. This might be the first 4-week long episode of the BO Boys, and my God, that would barely be enough time.
And all I know is that just the amount of like shining bright stardom in this room makes me need to put on the shades.
He's putting on the shades, everyone. That is why you got to watch us on YouTube. We are YouTubers. Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
And Jeff, I mean, let's get into it. And real quick, because you did go to CinemaCon in Vegas last month. You got full of hype. Was there as much hype pumped into the vents as there was the year you went and saw The Flash at CinemaCon? Was there more or less hype in the vents?
No, that was the hypest of all hypes, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
This year was hype. It was great to get filled back up with popcorn and snacks. The Raisinets were coming out of every orifice that I had. Free Raisinets, of course. Everything was on point. They do a great job at CinemaCon. And it's not NATO anymore, you guys. It's not national. It's not the North American Theater Owners anymore. You know, right? It's Cinema United, because they have united. And they were getting confused with that other NATO that's out there. You know,
right.
Those roots. I mean, we can't have two NATOs. So now we have Cinema United. Everybody is on the same page here. I mean, except for the studios, they still hate each other. But, you know, for the most part, they're all in this together. What I did hear, what was kind of the buzzword of 2025 CinemaCon was just wait until 2026.
Oh, boy.
That was kind of what the buzz was. And it's a little unfortunate, but when you look at that summer schedule for 2026, there's a lot of Billies on there, and it's a hard press to find a Billy on the 2025 schedule. We'll get into it.
We'll get into it.
That is the prevailing thought that was kind of floating around CinemaCon, is that guys, just hold on to 2025. We'll get through it, and then 2026 is 2019 all over again.
But last year the catchphrase was survive till 25.
Yes.
And
yes.
Was that the catchphrase just because it rhymed and they actually had no intention of 25 being the biggest year we've had since
No, they just love a good rhyme. You got it. You know, that was all hype. That was all positioning. It is, you know, catch a flicks in 26. You know, that's really where it's at.
Okay. I mean, listen, last year, I don't think anyone expected Inside Out 2 to be the Billy that it was, the near 2 Billy that it ended up being. So Billies could sneak up on you. There could be, and we're going to go through this extensively, maybe there's a hidden Billy or two in there. Listen, Sinners are not going to be a Billy, but no one was expecting the first 10 days of Sinners that we've gotten. So you got to look on the bright side. People seem to be excited about going to the movie theater at the right time. Jeff, do you think we have more momentum heading into the beginning of the summer now than we did a year ago heading into the Fall Guy opening the summer?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, theater owners were kind of crushed because CinemaCon fell at the end of March, the beginning of April, before we had Minecraft, before we had Sinners. It was that really down March, and everybody was depressed there. Let's be honest. So
you guys flew in to Vegas right after Snow White. Like that is
Exactly.
CinemaCon happened in the wake of Snow White.
Yes, exactly. So there was a lot of bummed out people there, but they brought all the stars, like all the stars. Sometimes it's one or two studios. This year it was every star that we have that we're able to fly in on a private jets. We're bringing them, even if it's for like 10 seconds to talk. They are coming, and they did. So that got everybody hyped up. You know, Tom Cruise is there. When Tom Cruise is in the house, you know it's going to be a good show. You know, and it's one of those things where we have so much more momentum just because of how good April has been to us, to all of us. You know, we got sequels, we got original films, we got video game adaptions. We got reissues, you know, the Star Wars. So yeah, there's a lot more for people to see, and going into Thunderbolts, I think that's going to help, because people, if you guys went to the theater, you guys know how it was in April. There was an excitement, electricity, finally in theaters again, and it was exciting to be there for Sinners, for Minecraft. There were demographics that I hadn't seen in a long time in cinemas.
So let's get into it. I mean, let's start the summer. It starts on Friday. It starts Thursday night. Thunderbolts Asterix is coming out this weekend. We had David Thompson of The Direct on our last episode. He seemed very bullish on this movie, feeling like this is going in the right direction for Marvel. I'll say it right now, guys, and I haven't said this in a while about a Marvel movie, about a superhero movie. I kind of want to see this movie.
Oh.
I kind of want to see these Thunderbolts.
Okay.
I want to see these A24 Thunderbolts. Jeff, before we get to Clayton going off on these Thunderbolts, are you feeling excited about these Thunderbolts Asterix?
I'll say this. I'm more excited about Thunderbolts than I was about the Fall Guy kicking off the summer. As you know, it is quite common, right, for a Marvel film to open up the summer. The last, 13, 15 years outside of the pandemic, it is always a Marvel film. And that's what sets the tone for the summer. So in terms of that, yes. Am I excited for a D+ series that is masquerading to be a Marvel film? No, I'm not. I'm sort of over that aspect. This is to me, it feels like Eternals, Shang-Chi, Black Widow-ish. That's what we're looking at, and that's what the numbers are reporting right now. $75 to $80 million opening, and that's that's great for anybody else. For Marvel, that's average to below average.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think I love that people go into cinema. I love that people are more excited about this movie than they were for the last Captain America film, but it's not gonna be a good movie. Like, that's the thing, is like, sure, if you want the stingers because you want to know more about Fantastic Four and the upcoming Avengers Doomsday, then all the nerds are going to go, all the Bazinga Bros are going to go to see that. But Marvel does not make enjoyable movies anymore. It's going to be the same. You're going to go there, Pat, and you're going to be excited, and it's going to have the same Marvel humor that has just completely flattened down any sort of innovation. It's going to be the same huge third act fest of bad special effects. Okay. It's going to be the same thing that you've seen a million times. Okay, and but you can sit through it if you want. But it's cool now. It's like an A24 movie. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that this is a lot of hype. I feel like this is flash hype. I'm calling it now. I think that people are saying that this is going to be. I mean, listen, Tom Cruise went out and said, "Flash, great movie, great movie." He probably wanted to do that with Sinners, and WB said, "Wait till it comes out. We don't want another Flash situation, right?" So I'm hearing a lot of positives about this, but it's positives from the hardcores who are getting to see this movie early. I don't feel like anybody who is skeptical about this movie is seeing it and saying it's great.
And it's not it's not overwhelmingly positive either. Like you said, Clayton, it is they let the hardcore fans see it first, and they were all pretty good, but, and then, and that's honestly, it's great. Again, it's great that we're having a Marvel film start the summer. It's got a couple weeks to play because there's really nothing coming out the next week.
It's getting the IMAXs.
Yeah, it's got the IMAXs until people start protesting outside their theater for that second weekend to give it back to Sinners, which may happen. It may end up sharing that with Thunderbolts asterisks. But Pat, I mean, what is it that gets you jazzed about this? Honestly,
I mean, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, obviously.
Okay. So here we go. This is what's you just want her to
Elaine
be
on the big screen.
Yeah, you want Elaine, and that's great, and that's fine.
There is just, I feel like, overall a positivity about theater going that we didn't have a month ago.
Yeah.
So Thunderbolts, I feel like, is going to ride some momentum from Minecraft movie, from the CJ screenings, from Sinners. Like, that is real. This is, I think if you flip-flop Thunderbolts and Captain America Brave New World, and Captain America was opening on Friday, that would benefit from opening in a much more positive world. It wouldn't do. Thunderbolts is, I think, a much better play right now.
Yeah.
And I do think that, listen, to a degree, obviously people are over superhero movies in the way that they dominated the decade. It's not going back to that, anywhere near that. But people do like these movies. And I think every so often they want to will one of these to being better than. And I do feel like Thunderbolts is going to catch that. The reviews are much better than Marvel movies have gotten in a while. Florence Pugh is
Miss Flo
is a more interesting star than they've had in the last few. She is a more interesting star than Harrison Ford going Hulk.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that this cast, Timmy Chalamet's not in there, Sydney Sweeney's not in there, but it's got some more juice than some of the recent Marvel movies.
I mean,
I'm bullish on.
People like that guy from The Bronze.
Who's the guy from The Bronze?
The guy that co-starred in The Bronze.
I don't know what The Bronze is.
It was that gymnastic movie. Remember? That's the biggest thing he's been in, right? Winter Soldier guy.
I don't know what any of these are. Oh, okay. I vaguely am starting to remember what this is. From Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, the girl from Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
Made a movie.
What a
and
path!
He was in it.
What a path that is too. Yeah, from the star of The Bronze. They should put that on the poster. I mean, Jeff, do you think this cast is giving you anything more than what a Marvel movie has given us in a while? Is this a cooler cast?
From an indie perspective, yes, but from a box office and a general admission perspective, absolutely not. There's no heat really from these actors. We've seen them all in other things, and they don't really bring it. They don't sell tickets, you know. So you're selling Marvel here, and that's the only thing you can. Pugh and Sebastian Stan, yes, everybody loves them critically, but in terms of box office, De Niro, it's just not there. So what they needed was one big star to carry this, even if it was like a Hemsworth, a Thor coming back. They needed somebody. They needed somebody. And if we're calling for a Hemsworth to save them, we're in trouble. You know, if this doesn't even open with what Captain America opens at, which was what, 88 million? It's not.
Did Captain America open at that high in a 3-day?
Yes.
It got to 88 in a 3-day?
I think 88.8 actually, something, and then now it's topped out at exactly 200. This will be lucky, I think, to hit. You know, maybe it goes over, maybe it's at 210, but it's not going to get over by much. It's just these are D-list characters. The reason I go to superhero films, I want to see all these powers. You know, I want to see what they do. These amazing people do with all their amazing powers. These guys don't have jack shit. You know, really, they don't have power. It's just an action film with a bunch of Z-grade action superheroes that aren't really even, it's a stretch to call them superheroes. And for the general public, that's a problem.
I mean, I mentioned John Walker, the character John Walker, to Kirk Minahan, Podcast Jesus, and he thought we were talking about John Walker Lynn, from the American Taliban guy from the early 2000s.
Yes.
That's how low John Walker's Q rating is as a superhero.
Could that have been just a character that they worked into Thunderbolts asterisks? You know, they're showing you it's like Ilana, Red Sparrow, whatever these characters' names are, and then it's just American Taliban.
Yeah, I think so. American Taliban. I mean, that's a character. I mean, now you're being edgy. Now you're being A24.
Right.
This
That's
ain't A24. I'm telling you, the Red Guardian eating
American Taliban.
Yeah, but the Red Guardian eating a fucking Subway like 6-inch sub or foot-long sub and being like, oh, that's not A24. This is just going to be.
But it has an editor
slop.
from Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Well,
like the cinematographer.
You got to eat.
Best boy, yeah.
Because I'm sure that paid jack shit.
Let's give this will be the one movie that, since it's opening this weekend, let's give our numbers on this 3-day weekend. So, Jeff, what is your Thunderbolts asterisk opening weekend number? And you can put an asterisk on your opening weekend.
Yeah, I won't. I will. I asked the Magic 8 Ball earlier, and the Magic 8 Ball does not lie about openings. It was right on Fall Guy last year. I asked Magic 8 Ball. I said, hey, 70 to 80. It said yes, and I honed it in. And it came up with $78 million debut, which is $10 million less than Captain America.
All right, I'm going to go 82 million opening weekend. But here's what I'm going to say. This movie will be leggier than Captain America. I think it gets to 250 million domestic. That's what I'm going to say. I do think this movie's going to ride some box office positivity. Clayton, what are you putting this at? Are you putting this at the Marvel's numbers?
No, I think we would know if that was going to happen at this point. I mean, I think as lower as I am on this movie than you are, I am not that low. I would go. I'm going to say 72.
Okay, 72.
We're right there. We're right there. We're all right there within 10 million. That's good.
Yeah. So here's the thing. We're already kicking off the summer in a much better way than we did with the Fall Guy last year. What did Fall Guy open to in its 3-day? 35? 27, right? Wasn't it around that?
It was pretty bad. Yeah.
It was pretty bad. And Fall Guy was leggy for what it opened to, but that was a rough opening.
It cursed Furiosa and every other film that opened in May because it was so poor,
Yes. I mean, here's the thing. Right off the bat, we are going to have so much better of a May than we did last summer. This May looks like a real May. Thunderbolts might not be A-tier MCU, but I mean, we'll get into it. That Memorial Day weekend is gigantic, possibly gigantic. So the other thing opening this weekend is The Surfer that's a Nick Cage movie, right? From Roadside Attractions. Is that anything?
No.
Is that anything, Jeff?
That is zero. That is nothing. That is 850,000.
Okay, here's an over-under, and I don't have the numbers in front of me. The Surfer, will it do beach bum numbers?
Well, you got to have the numbers in order to do the over-under.
Yeah, but Beach Bum, I'm going to guess, and we'll look it up now, I think Beach Bum got itself to like 8 million total at the box office. Is there any way the Surfer could do something like that in its run?
No. Have you guys watched the trailer? It's kind of depressing, and it's I think it would be a tough sell anywhere on the schedule, much less kicking off the summer.
The Beach Bum
It only made 3.5.
Only made 3.5. Yeah. I inflated that in my mind because it's one of the great.
I would take the under definitely on this one.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't want you to think that I didn't. Going back to CinemaCon, I don't want to think that I didn't get you guys anything. It is on the way. I just haven't got the packages together. But there are some things. Would you rather? Because this actually relates to the Surfer. Would you rather I wait? Do you want to just do an opening, an unboxing, or do you want a little surprise, a little preview of what you're getting?
I don't know if I could wait.
Oh, you want to? Okay, I like the unboxing, but Pat wants a little treat.
The unboxing video is content, though.
Yeah,
and so that's a second layer of gift. Is you're giving us the gift and you're giving us the content of an unboxing video.
But this is the Surfer will totally be forgotten by the time you guys get this. So I'll give you a little hint. Yeah, I'll give you a little something.
Is it sex wax?
Yeah, I wish it was Dr. Zog sex wax, but it's not far off. Look at that, boys. For your lips, a little moisture. Oh, little Nick Cage juice right there. Put that on.
So our
Unopened.
lips will be as bombed
Yes.
as his lips.
Yes. Look at that. Look at that, boys. I mean,
That is
Roadside went
amazing.
all out. They never give free stuff, but look what they did here, guys. I mean, this is big.
That's
This
huge.
is big. These are probably
Thank
going
you.
for $100 on eBay each, but I'm going to send them off, I'll probably have to get some dry ice because I don't want these to melt in that heat.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
although then it becomes like some kind of lip balm soup that we could, then it's ingestible once it melts.
And that's not bad either because this has the sweat of Nick Cage in it. So that's great.
I love it.
I love it.
So that is on the way. And maybe that boosts it. Maybe this takes off and people start buying this and they say, we should go to the movie too because it's so hot out right now. We got to escape the heat.
They got to get those in the CVS's, the Walgreens. I mean, obviously nowadays you would put them up behind locked plastic glass, the Nick Cage lip balms. You'd have to ring a bell and get a worker from a different floor to come down and open the cage to get your Nick Cage lip balm.
I mean, I could get,
but it'll be worth it.
I can get closer to a Picasso at the Louvre, than I can deodorant at a CVS.
Yes, 100%.
It's an issue.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. This is my God. This episode is already one of the best episodes ever because we know we're getting Nick Cage lip balm. So that movie's gonna bomb. Nick Cage just with a weird spot. He just can never keep it going because his last movie was he had a hit
who
recently.
knows? You mean the last movie that anybody cared about?
Yeah, he had something in the last year that's escaping me now because it was probably 4 movies ago.
He was that professor. What was that? Was it A24?
Well, there's Dream Scenario.
Dream Scenario, but he
that's
had
what
a
I'm thinking.
hit that I'm totally blanking on, but he has had a legitimate hit in the last year. Not
in theaters?
That was the detective movie, right? The what was it? Neon.
Oh my God! Of course, Long Legs. He had Long Legs last summer.
Yeah, okay.
Last summer.
Legs.
Surprise of the summer. Yeah,
Long
this
Legs,
is not. Yeah, the surfer
This
is
not Long
no
Legs.
Long Legs.
So next weekend, May 9th, not much coming out of note. Clown in a Cornfield. I've seen that standee in the movie theaters from RLJ Entertainment, Clown in a Cornfield. It's a great title. Is there anything there, Jeff, that this is feeling like some kind of small breakout horror movie? Or it's just a standee that people will take pictures in
People
front of?
will steal that standee. Yeah, I think there's more behind the stealing of the standee than actually getting in there. But, for a low budget horror, maybe it surprises a little bit because like you said, there's not much else opening. There's Fight or Flight, which is the Josh Hartnett film from Vertical Entertainment. And then there's that A24 joint, Friendship. But I think that's a limited release.
Yeah,
and then
that goes wide Memorial Weekend.
Okay. And then there's Lionsgate Shadow Force, which will probably be the lowest opening wide release of the summer.
Wow.
That's with I'm just gonna say I push that out there.
Is that 1,000?
Kerry Washington.
Kerry Washington. Okay. Is that 1,000 screens?
Oh, it's got to be. I think 1,500. We have it at 1,000, but I haven't got official word. And the issue with that, I mean, they advertised that to CinemaCon audiences in 2024, and then they just kind of glossed over it this year. Like, oh yeah, that's coming out. We're gonna drop that. So that's a big Lionsgate drop. Before
we write off Clown in a Cornfield.
Okay.
I do want we have to note, of course, that one of the stars of this movie is Will Sasso.
Will Sasso.
Of Mad TV fame.
Yes.
And I think, appearance on Fox Sunday NFL over the years. So
Played
that has
Curly in the big screen Three Stooges movie from the Farrelly brothers.
Yep. So we do have to factor that into the box office. And this was also Clown in a Cornfield was based on a novel.
It's
IP.
It's an IP. I mean,
real.
Obviously, as much as IP as a book could be.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm thinking, and of course, this movie was Lionsgate, and this is a much smaller studio. But 2019's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, that movie was a sneaky sort of hit. Ended up at 68 million domestic and 104 worldwide. And that was a popular book from our childhood, if we remember Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Is there a possibility that this is some sort of sleeper hit here?
Clown in a Cornfield? I mean, if Clown in a Cornfield from RLJ Entertainment makes $68 million,
Yeah.
RLJ Entertainment, it is just nonstop partying
Yeah.
in those offices. It's RLBJ
Yeah.
Entertainment, if you know what I mean.
yeah.
And obviously you know what I mean because it's pretty direct what I just said.
You should send them that chapstick, Jeff.
Yeah, you would definitely want to lube it up. You know,
Yeah.
if you're making 68 million, you're getting the real Nick Cage to probably apply it onto you. You know,
100%.
He will pretty much go paycheck to paycheck, man. This guy has a lot of debt still, so he's taking everything that's offered at him.
No.
I think honestly, if Clown in the Cornfield, if it made $1 million opening weekend and maybe ended with 3.5, that'd be great. Honestly, for a studio like RLJ/Shudder Entertainment. I mean, it's not a bad place for them to be. They're just ahead of Final Destination Bloodlines, which comes the week after. So they're going to have 1 week to make some money.
Well, let's talk that Bloodlines, because I was at the office earlier today, and a coworker brought up Final Destination Bloodlines as something they are, and this is not someone who I would assume is immediately going to every horror movie, genuine excitement over a new Final Destination movie. Do we feel like this is an IP that is coming back at the right time for how old the fans of the originals are? Clayton, you seem to be shaking
100%. Now, we'll talk about a movie later that I think is going to another legacy sort of horror sequel that I think is going to bomb. This one, I feel, is hitting at the right time. I think we all sort of love those Final Destination movies. People love to rank them. There's 5 of them.
Yeah, we love the YouTube compilation videos of the scenes from the earlier movies. Yeah, that's a rare movie that plays best as a playlist.
It absolutely, but I also think that this is one of those movies that people genuinely are like, why did they stop making them? Because you could do this over and over and over again. The Rube Goldbergian sort of death scenes.
Yeah.
They're fun to come up with. People love to watch them. You could put a movie like this out every 4 years. And maybe you'd have to take a little bit of a break, but it felt like there was such a long gap. I think that really built up anticipation. And what's built up the anticipation even more, I think, is the trailers. The trailers have been amazing for this. There was the original teaser of a gentleman, I believe, in a tattoo shop or something like that.
Yeah.
And then this one that has been playing in theaters and people have been getting crazy over it is the Backyard Barbecue.
Yes.
It's got everybody on the edge of their seat, ooh and ahhing.
Well, we've all been at a barbecue and we've all thought, will all of us die at this event?
Well, when that shard of glass gets into the drink, everybody in the theater is like, right? There's just a visceral reaction to that. And I think the marketing has been exceptional. People know it's coming out.
People do now, yeah.
Which Clown in the Cornfield, of course, nobody knows that's coming out. But people know about Bloodlines. And I think last Tony Todd on-screen appearance that we know of, at least for a big major film.
Yeah. I'm sure there's 7 Tony Todd movies in the can, and 3 of them also have Ray Liotta
in them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff, do you think, I'm going to say it, I think this movie could open at 27 million. I think this could be.
It's tracking around there.
Is it really?
It's tracking very high.
So then, Jeff, am I low? Could this be a movie that opens at 30? I mean, Longlegs was the horror movie last year. Obviously, it wasn't an IP, smaller distribution, opens 22, 23. Could Bloodlines be hitting at the right time and open to 30?
Yeah, I have it pegged right now at 34 million.
Wow.
I think it could hit 40.
Wow.
Yeah. The thing about this is it's the 25th anniversary of the original coming out, which is great. And also, we haven't seen one for about 15 years, since 2011, right?
Yeah.
So that was before TikTok took off and all that stuff. You're right. You guys nailed it. These kills and the compilation of these kills is made for this generation. And so they've never got one of these films yet. And now they're getting one. Guys, this is the start of a huge new franchise again for Warner Brothers. You're right. They should make one of these every 2 to 3 years and put the compilations together, and they'll have all new fans via TikTok and social medias that they didn't even have before. So if we're looking at, the highest grossing one of these was part 4 worldwide, did 186 million. This is a franchise that has grossed over 650 million throughout its 5 iterations. So there's so much more to be made here. This is going to easily be $1 billion franchise, maybe in the next 2 installments.
Wow.
So yeah, I think this hits at just the right time. You're going to have that lull from Thunderbolts. That's what creates waves. People have been talking about this trailer. People at CinemaCon were freaking out about this thing. This is going to be huge. Unlike, like Clayton said, unlike that other one that's trying to be rebooted this summer and will not work.
Oofa.
Well,
I mean, I'll see it, but
there's another. I mean, we'll talk about it. There's another horror movie though that is being sequelized that will be a huge hit.
Yes.
Then there's another one that I think
this was a legacy. I refer to it as a legacy sequel.
A legacy sequel.
So I think this is going to be the Final Destination Bloodlines. Feels to me like it's a 5-frame situation.
Yeah.
And even more so, Scream 6, which is the highest grossing of all of them. Any of them.
Yeah. And the Bloodlines, the thing about the Final Destination movies that always hamper it or keep the ceiling a little lower is there is no villain. You know, there's no Art the Clown, there's no Freddy, it's just the unseen hand of death. And there's no hero who could recur, which in horror isn't that necessary, but that's what helps the Scream movies.
Yeah.
So
but think of all the TikTok stars we could kill though. That's what's great about this.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeff, I mean, you nailed it. There's got to be a scene in this movie where someone gets the ring light out, setting up their camera for the TikTok, and you're just seeing the stuff going on behind the scenes that's eventually going to kill them,
and everyone's hearting it
live on stream. It's just like this is
the comments going crazy as they turn into a pile of goo on camera.
You know how like it took a while for Spider-Man to reach this big screen because they wanted to make sure that they could do the special effects and make it look good enough. I feel like this movie, as much as they took a big delay, I think that they're figuring out that this is the perfect time to do this movie with what we have that we didn't have when the last one was out. I mean, I think they had in the last movie, they had sidekicks or something. I mean, they might have had iPhones, but they didn't have the social media they didn't have. Everybody had like a high quality camera. This is perfect for this sort of movie.
Yeah. There's a lot to explore here. I mean, the highest grossing of the franchise, get this, guys, the highest grossing was 66 million domestic. That's nothing. This one will blow that away. You know what I mean? I mean, it's kind of amazing to think that, because when you think about Final Destination and all its iterations, I think, oh man, it must have got up to like 80 to 100, but they just didn't. And this one will, I think, get past 80 million domestic.
Yeah.
So that weekend, just quickly, do want to get your take on this because Jenna Ortega is in a movie.
Jenna.
And she had Death of a Unicorn. Now she's in this movie called Hurry Up Tomorrow. It's from director Trey Edward Schultz. He did It Comes at Night. She's doing an indie. She's also doing a movie that co-stars and is co-written by The Weeknd.
Yeah.
Jenna Ortega, why is she in a May release that is going to probably make less than $2 million opening weekend? What Beetlejuice. She's a giant star. People specifically love her. And then it's Hurry Up Tomorrow. What is this, Jeff?
This falls into, I want to do one for me. That's the category that this falls into. Listen, Lionsgate brought out The Weeknd at CinemaCon for 2 songs. They brought the fucking Weeknd there. And so we're all at a private concert listening to The Weeknd. We're like, I forget, what film is this for? Or are we just watching The Weeknd? This is great. This is amazing. The Weeknd is unbelievable performer. And this is I was telling people around me, we're never going to see The Weeknd this close again. You guys, this is an intimate performance by The Weeknd. I'm like, they should have just filmed that and release that in theaters, because it will make more than what this film where they barely even showed it. I think Jenna was there with the director and they chatted about it, but nobody understood. We watched the trailer and nobody understood what the hell this director was trying to say. It's a very artistic film, and maybe it will connect with some people, and that's cool because you want people to do their art and to make it. But this will not. You're right. This will not connect with the audiences.
I fear for her because I was, I was thinking with some of her movies that she's been in recently that they're just going to disappear fast and that's not going to hurt her. But there just seems to be too many bodies at the moment, right? Miller's Girl. What is that?
It's Miller's Girl.
Miller's Girl.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is such a fluke, weird movie. They're putting it out because Jenna Ortega has a name.
It definitely did better than it should have because of her.
It definitely did. It definitely did. But that we're talking
minuscule.
It's a minuscule movie,
yeah.
And it did probably better on Netflix than actually in the theater because of her.
Yeah.
And then you have Death of a Unicorn, which was a total disaster and is, one of those movies that I think people will forget about. But then this one's coming out and it's got The Weeknd too. So it's like, it just feels like there's too many of these stinkers intermixed with, and she's out of Scream, which is a franchise that could have been a sturdy fallback for her to go to. And I understand why she did. I'm not saying anything about the decision making, but right now as a career for her, I'd be looking at like, oh, that could have been like a landing spot after all these little things before the next Beetlejuice movie.
Yeah. You wish that right now she was opening something that could really follow up Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
And I think that this Hurry Up Tomorrow could be so bad that it is not forgotten, even though she would want it to be forgotten.
Yeah, it could be like a Showgirls type of movie where
it could be a Showgirls.
People are watching it and goofing on it.
Well, if that many people, I think even Showgirls opened at like 7 million. So it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like that would be so great if this film could open at 7 million, honestly. No, but she needs to be in the next Twisters. She needs to be in, in the next Jurassic World film.
Well, her
agents will probably push her to do something really big.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the following weekend, Memorial Weekend, this is going to be huge. And I'm going to throw this out there. You got Mission Impossible, Final Reckoning, which big bounce back movie for Tom Cruise. He needs this to work. And you got Lilo and Stitch. Is it a slam doink that Tom Cruise is not finishing number one that weekend? Is that a safe prediction?
Yeah, Tom Cruise does not take number one. Absolutely.
Wow. Well, is Lilo and Stitch going to be the biggest kids movie of the summer? Is that the one? It's not. If there's a kids movie that can make a Billy, is it Lilo and Stitch?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. But the only thing that could stop it, I think, is How to Train Your Dragon. And we can get into it later. But they showed that film at CinemaCon. And I'm telling you guys, it's, there's a certain magic to the first trilogy of animated films because I think they're really well done. And it kind of made DreamWorks Animation, kept them on the map for a while when they made these three of them. And they really capture the essence. And that first one is a really good story. And when you turn it into live action, because let's be honest, it was kind of a crazy animated film. I'm like, wow, they're turning this into live action. That's expensive. And it's on the screen. Like it looks like a very expensive film. I can't remember
it does. Okay.
if they put the budget up, but it looks like a little Avatar light. And that's kind of how it plays. There's really cool flying scenes. So if I had to guess that Lilo and Stitch gets pushed out, it'd only be if How to Train Your Dragon takes off like it might.
Well, would it be pushed out, or is it just going to continue the momentum? And it's summer, kids are off. Like I don't think the competition is bad. Yeah,
no.
I think they could feed off of each other.
Yeah, I think if you're ranking them though, that's like they're going to be really close. I think, and guess what, guys? Dean DeBlois, the director of this film, was the original writer for Lilo and Stitch. So this is his summer.
Wow,
this is his summer. He wrote the original. I think he has screen credit on the live action remake. this is definitely going to boost him up into the stratosphere because he's going to have a hand in two films that, you know, could possibly definitely approach over 800 million. Like you said, possibly one of them hits a billy.
Wow.
I mean, I think the upper hand that How to Train Your Dragon has is that it's the first live action adaptation, right, of a DreamWorks cartoon, correct?
Yeah.
This is the first time they're doing it.
Yeah.
And Disney is sort of, you know, ransacked their catalog. And I do think Lilo and Stitch is a big one. I think, you know, kids are going to go crazy for this. I mean, we could be looking at $1 billion for this and then $1 billion plus for How to Train Your Dragon if everything goes well. But I think Lilo and Stitch will get close to $1 billion. I just feel it. I just think this is a beloved film.
It's interesting because the original Lilo and Stitch, it did 145 million domestic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, you know, it wasn't one of the bigger hits. It was sort of on the downswing of the end of the 90s revival.
Yeah,
and
because
before you got to Frozen and Wreck-It Ralph and Moana.
Tangled.
This is 2002. 2002.
Right. Yeah. So, but it's the perfect release year in the nostalgia cycle.
Yeah.
Because those kids then they have kids now and everyone's been watching this movie at home for 20 years. And, you know, this is not our movie. We're Little Mermaid kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly like Moana was not our movie and it did over $1 billion, you know?
Right. I think this is one of the secret billies of the summer. I think if you're saying there's got to be some billies in there because it's summer and it's just going to happen, I think Lilo and Stitch is a candidate for a secret billy. This is a movie that could open. I mean, could Lilo and Stitch open at like 140 3-day? I mean, could it do like a 160, 170 Memorial Weekend? Could it go that bananas?
Moana 2 did 139, right?
Okay, so it won't hit that.
But
that's
if we're looking at 100,
that's a 3-day.
That's a 3-day. I mean,
could
it over under the original domestic total of Lilo and Stitch 145 million total? Could if that's the over under for the 5-day for the Memorial Day weekend?
Oh, 5-day.
Well, yeah,
if you
count Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
I think I'm still under, but I think it'll be close.
Yeah,
I think it's close. That's the one thing that does worry me, though. When I look at how popular Moana was, and it opened with 56 million and did 248 and 643 million worldwide. And then, 8 years later, Moana 2 almost doubles that and does $1 billion. You're right, though. Lilo and Stitch was never as big as Moana was. But
Moana wasn't big when Moana 1. When Moana 1 opened, Moana was a nobody. No one.
But Moana 1 still did 643 million worldwide. Just Moana 1, right? And Lilo and Stitch only did 273 million worldwide. So that is a big difference between the love of Moana and the love of Lilo and Stitch. Now, Lilo and Stitch had a couple TV series, which kept it relevant, and also a couple of those direct to, like, Stitch the Glitch or Glitch the Stitch or something. It had a couple direct to video sequels. So it has.
I'm sure there were some video games over the years. There was probably something for
as a
GameCube.
character. Yeah, as a character, Stitch is I think really beloved by the younger generation. So the only thing that gives me caution is maybe we're overestimating actually how big a fan base outside of the core kids, like how many of the adults will actually go watch this. Moana seems like just more beloved in my opinion. So maybe it doesn't reach $1 billion. It's still going to do very well, but that would be my only drawback, is that initial love for it wasn't there. I guess it just depends. Did it grow? Did it really grow over the last 20 years? So
do you think the high end for this would be live action Little Mermaid?
Oh, no. I think 800, like 800 is a safe bet. I think that, 800 million, which is great. Yeah.
Good.
Which is a great number. I have nothing. It's just that to get to that Billy, to make it magical, you're right, Clayton. I think that it has to have just a massive Memorial Day weekend, and holding that back honestly is mission impossible. Because that has its fans. We haven't talked about it yet.
Let's talk about it. Let's
but
talk
but
about
it is probably the last mission. I mean, with Tom Cruise, it's probably the last one, right? Because he has to do Top Gun 3 and Days of Thunder 2. He doesn't have time to do this impossible mission stuff anymore, right?
Yeah, still cocktailing he's got to do.
Yeah, he's got to do the cocktailing.
Yeah. I mean,
Cocktails.
this
Cocktails, yeah.
this cannot be this is only the last Tom Cruise Mission Impossible if this performs at or lower than the last movie, and then they just decide we're not doing these anymore. And is that a possibility? Is there a chance that this franchise is just done? You know, is when Dead Reckoning, and I will say no more because it's not part one. When Dead Reckoning came out a few years ago, there was all of that hype of the Maverick effect. Maverick came out the year before, biggest movie of the year, sensation. Oh, this is going to be the biggest Mission Impossible ever because of Maverick.
Yeah.
That did not happen. Is this just a franchise that has got some stink on it? Or was that an aberration because of Sound of Freedom, because of the IMAX scheduling debacle?
Barbenheimer
A week later, right. It was badly scheduled.
Yeah.
Or is Mission Impossible over?
I hate to say it. I hate to say it, but I'm not feeling much momentum for this. I think this is going to play to the hardcores who have been there for all of them and love to follow this series, how it changed directors and then stayed with the same writer, director, and then the stunts have gotten bigger and bigger. But it feels like the bigger the stunts get, there's not a proportion to how many people want to really see it. Right. And I think Maverick was his peak, definitely saved theaters. Yeah. But then when Dead Reckoning sort of hit with a thud, and it's a really great action movie. I mean, nobody makes these movies better than this team.
Yeah.
Oh, the train sequence at the end of Dead Reckoning, and that's it.
Yeah.
Not part one.
Nope.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And I saw that movie in France.
Here we go.
South of France. I had been in Paris the week before, then ended up in south of France. Saw it in a French movie theater with no subtitles, just French dubbed.
Just people smoking cigarettes, drinking wine.
Cigarettes, walking around baguettes. It was great.
Reading Baudelaire.
Not a word of English. Loved it. Loved every second. Didn't need a word of English. Just the visuals told the story. I left with my friend who also didn't speak French, and we both knew exactly what happened in the movie, had a great time. And I didn't realize that back in America, people were just not caring about this movie. Everyone's at Sound of Freedom at the time.
But because
Jeff, are you feeling that? Is Mission Impossible, is it over? Is this a franchise whose time has passed?
Yeah.
And is the reckoning of it all a problem? The fact that this is sort of a sequel to a movie that didn't do as well.
Yeah, they changed it to The Final Reckoning, but it should have been called The Final Countdown, right? Because that's what it is. And, you know, Europe is probably the best Swedish band outside of ABBA that doesn't get a lot of recognition. They could have remade the Final Countdown song. You know, I mean, there's so many choices. You know, Post Malone could have done it. You know, I don't know who does it, but that would have been big. You could have connected with a younger crowd remaking that anthem of the 80s, but they didn't. They didn't think of it because all they're doing is making the same film over and over and over. And you're right. The action is awesome. It is amazing. But I can't tell you what happened I couldn't even give you a summary of the last 5 Mission Impossible. I don't know what happened. I know I saw some cool shit, but I can't tell you the plot of the film other than it was one action scene after another, and Tom Cruise was doing his real stunts. And last time it was a motorcycle going off a cliff, and this time he's on a biplane upside down. That's all these films are. It's like a one showcase wonder for Tom Cruise's acting ego, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's all these films are.
Wow.
It's one boy's fantasy camp. One boy's billion and billion of dollars spent to have a fantasy camp that is then shot and released.
But that boy is one of the great movie stars who's ever lived.
And
he's not just a boy.
No.
at the Sandlot.
No, he's our Peter
Just playing
Pan. He
stickball.
is the boy that never ages.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think that is what, in essence, these movies are, right? Like Jeff was saying, the plot is incidental. There is, I would say, you have grown sort of, if you're fans of these movies, you have grown attached to some of the characters a little bit, right? But I think when you look at it just logistically, how much time it takes, how much money it actually makes compared to other movies that are shot in a warehouse with green screen and bad special effects that make $1 billion.
I don't want to live in that world.
But I mean, it's one of those things where if this movie makes less than the last one, you have to put it on the shelf. You just have to. And then you bring him back. I mean, 20 years from now, how hyped will people be to see 80-year-old Tom Cruise jump from a satellite in a spacesuit through the Earth's atmosphere into his casket? But what I'm saying is, like, that is then when you get the juice back, is 20 years later and he's still doing this stuff. But I think it is over after this movie. I mean, listen, we have tickets for this.
We have tickets with opening day.
Yeah.
Opening day,
IMAX.
The B.O. Boys will be there.
Yeah.
With a special guest. We'll be sitting there. And for Podcast Jesus, Kirk Minahan, it's not Chris Klemmer.
Because I'm there. That's how you know it's not Chris Klemmer, because I will be there.
So,
and I love Chris Klemmer, but I'm not
we'll
going to see
be there, but maybe we are just the hardcores.
It's for the oldies. I mean, let's be honest too. Who this movie's for? It's for us, and it's, we're in the oldies now, and 565 million, I believe, is what the last one made, and this will probably hit exactly that, or maybe a little less, maybe a little more, because it got those big screens. Maybe it gets a little higher, but that's where it's going to sit, and that is a lot of time and effort for that movie for not a lot of payoff. None of these franchises ever hit $1 billion. That's what we thought Dead Reckoning was going to do. The Fallout topped out at 785 million, and that's just a pipe dream for this one, unfortunately.
So I mean, Dead Reckoning, and that's it, not part one. That opened to 54 million in the 3-day. I remember we all thought, again, Maverick, this movie's going to open $80-90 million 3-day, came nowhere close. Are we thinking this is a smaller 3-day, and obviously Memorial Weekend, so the 3-day, it's impossible because it's all going to get mishmashed together, but are we thinking that over the long weekend it only does like 70 million, 75 million? Is that where this is going to end up?
It depends if the oldies want to fight with the Lilo and Stitch crowd, because the Lilo and Stitch crowd, they're going to be out there, they're going to be yelling shit. They're going to be like, get out of my way, oldie. I'm getting the popcorn. I want that collectible Stitch popcorn bucket. So get out of my effing way, dude. And so if they don't want to deal with that, you're right. I think you could see a lot of these, maybe they go to the later shows when they hope the kids aren't around at 10 p.m. But you're right. I think that's what you're looking at. You're looking at, 70, 75 for that 4-day haul.
Okay.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. At these budgets, though, it becomes this could be the final reckoning for this whole franchise, because you can't finance these and obviously COVID costs and strike costs are part of this budget, but $300 million for a Mission Impossible movie, I guess, won't make sense if it's only making $300 million total. So one other movie to open that weekend, Friendship, Paul Rudd, Tim Robinson. Any comedy breakout potential here? It's an A24 weird movie. It's not Paul Rudd, I Love You Man, role models, sort of more mainstream play. Is there any breakout, or is this a wet hot American summer for today's college kids?
Yeah, I mean, it's another death of a unicorn as far as box office goes. Like, I don't know how this can compete. I don't know what honestly, can we talk about A24 for do we have time to talk about them for a second?
Go for it. Go off. I mean, King.
I just don't understand. Like, I know, like, they had a lot of success, and they've had a lot of success in the indie marketplace, and they are, when you talk about indie filmmaking, you can't not talk about A24, but they don't even want that title anymore, right? They want to make big budget films or mid budget films that really like destroy the box office, you know, and that's what they want. They've said that as much as this is what we want to become. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand. I feel like they're trapped between two worlds right now. Like they don't want the crown of being the best indie studio out there anymore, even though they have it. They want to be the worst mid-major studio out there. Right. And spending a lot more on films, but not making the money back and not really even having the critical success that they used to have with their films. So they're definitely in a transition phase, and Friendship feels like another one of those transition movies that they're wrestling with. And they're wrestling with identity, I think, here.
Right. Are they striving to be Lionsgate?
Well, that's what I was just going to say. That's what it feels like to me. They're a Lionsgate in the making. Oh.
Yeah.
And you're seeing it with what they're releasing, stinker after stinker after stinker, to the point where they're damaging the movies that are actually quality movies, like the ones they used to release. Like if I'm somebody who has signed on for an A24 project, and I signed on a year, 2 years ago, and you know something's percolating, whatever, you know what happens.
Hey, they just had Everything Everywhere All at Once came out, and then boom, you signed the
you signed, and then now you're seeing A Legend of Ochi, and you're seeing Death of a Unicorn, and you're seeing this movie, which I think we're both very excited for.
We're excited for it. It should be good. It's Tim Robinson,
but A24 has released so many stinkers consecutively. I mean, Y2K. You're thinking, what is going to make this better than Y2K? A movie that we actually ended up enjoying, but it's not a quality film.
Mainly because of Fred Durst.
Absolutely. But there's no, the stamp of quality is gone. So you're left with what Jeff was saying is just a bunch of middling, mid-budget movies that people don't want to see and don't trust that they'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just wait till they show up on HBO Max, you know, and that's sort of what's been happening with a lot of their releases. I mean, they have Ari Aster's new film Eddington later in the summer.
Let's talk about it. Let's just talk about it now because it's the A24 hour.
Yeah, it is. But
do people want a 2020 surreal dramedy from the director of what was his last movie? Joaquin
Beau
Phoenix?
Was Afraid.
Beau Was Afraid.
It feels like a sequel to that film, and we know what happened to that film. So
will Eddington be a bigger disaster than Beau Was Afraid?
I mean, maybe I think it's going to be a little. Pedro Pascal's in it, right? So I think, and Joaquin again, and of course that's no guarantee, but I think it'll do a little better. But again, what did they spend on this? They had to spend a lot to keep Ari Aster in the A24 fold, right? I thought they were going to make another horror sequel for him because, hey, one for us, one for you, but now it's two for you and none for us. That's what it feels like. So hopefully they got another big one coming from him. I'm all for making original films. I love that, but it's a business. And right now business is not good for A24. And this summer is going to be very tough for them to have a breakout hit. Bring Her Back could be interesting. But Materialists, maybe that hits. I like Celine Song. I liked her last film, but again, not very many people saw it.
I think we're both on the same page here. We loved Past Lives.
Yeah.
I think Materialist will be a complete flopperoo.
Oh, yeah. And unless there's
epic flopperoo.
Unless there's a gut-wrenching twist the way that Past Lives had. Of course, I'm talking about her husband being a gamer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't see how she could top that as like a shock twist in a movie.
It's Shyamalan-esque.
It is. And this has Pedro Pascal, who, listen, seems like a great guy, is in too much, oversaturated.
Great SNL host.
Oh, he's the best.
So
he's got that going for him. But then the two other leads, as boring as cardboard.
Dakota Johnson that's a tough lead of your movie.
Well, even when she takes her top off, it's not that interesting. I gotta say,
it's not interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And the most interesting she's ever done on film is try and open up a can of soda. That is, if I think of her career, it's that, and of course, telling Ellen you didn't invite me to your birthday.
Yeah.
That's her film career is based around saying, actually, Ellen, you didn't invite me to your birthday party.
That's funny.
That's her greatest performance ever to a generation.
There's a few like pop culture.
That should be a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I would love to see who would play Dakota Johnson and who would play Ellen.
Yes, in that conversation. And
it's like their lives leading up to that moment.
Yes.
And then
It's
that moment
Bryce Nixon.
happens. Yeah.
It's my dinner. It's my dinner with Andre all over again. But for a new generation. Yeah.
My birthday party with Ellen's. Yeah. Okay. Of these A24 movies, let's lump them all in now. Which is the biggest box office haul? You got Friendship, you got Eddington, you got The Materialist from Celine Song. I actually think Eddington.
And then you got Bring Her Back.
Okay, tell us Bring Her Back.
I say Bring Her Back. That's the Waka Waka guys or whatever.
Yeah.
The Raka
guys.
Yes. So that's and that's I think that's the week after Memorial Day. So
why is there no buzz on that movie? I mean,
I don't know. Maybe they're gonna pull it because you're right. I haven't seen anything. They've been talking about Friendship, and maybe it's just, hey, we're gonna build up Friendship first, then we're gonna get right to Bring Her Back. But I haven't seen that yet, and that kind of scares me a little. I know A24 doesn't. I mean, and that's the other thing. If you're gonna level up to mid-level, you got to start advertising your films in traditional ways.
I know.
You can't just do word of mouth anymore. This is the big leagues, guys. Step up or stay back where you were, and where you were was not such a bad place to be. Let's be honest.
And I'm hearing, that Ochi movie came out last weekend before, and I'm actually hearing decent buzz about it. It's a cute movie for kids. No saturation. You're not going to get kids to go to because they don't know it exists. They know CJ.
Yes, they know CJ screening.
Yeah, they know CJ. They don't know this Ochi that you speak of.
No. And the Bring Her Back feels like that should have been the priority because it was it Talk to Me? Was that the name of the movie? That was the big hit.
Yeah,
and the next horror movie from those guys should absolutely have been a priority unless it is a stinker and they know they've got a stinker on their hands.
Yeah.
We hope that's not the case because we want internet YouTuber pranksters to become movie directors.
Yes.
We are YouTubers. Hey
guys.
And a follow-up horror movie from guys who just made a hit horror movie a few years ago, that should have been the one, but I'm seeing no buzz on that. I don't know if the Minecraft movie mania has gotten that audience so focused on that, and I don't know.
Did you guys see Warfare? The other
I did not see Warfare.
Okay.
I've heard good things, but have not seen it.
Well, A24 was so high on it because of Civil War and how relatively well it did for its budget.
Yep.
It did okay. Warfare was like the slimmed down version of that. Well, I was getting emails from A24 months before that film opened up saying, hey, do you want to go to this screening? Hey, go to the screening. We're going to do this screening, this screening, this screening. And so they were really pimping out Warfare because they wanted people to start talking about it. I haven't seen a thing about this other film. And that's an issue. If the studio's not pimping it out to people like me, people like you guys, it's a problem because if they don't want people to see it, there's something wrong with it, or it's not finished yet, or they're going to push it back to September or something, Yeah.
Yeah.
The Eddington thing, it's a COVID movie.
It takes place in 2020. Hindsight is 2020 is the tagline of this movie.
Yeah.
And the thing is, obviously, they were talking survive till 25 with theaters and everything. And now it's,
get your ticks for 26.
Right?
Yeah.
Do we really have an appetite to go back to a world where theaters were closed?
Yeah.
As theater goers.
Yeah.
The people who are going to see movies, do they want to transport their brain back to a moment where they could not go to a cinema in the summer?
Right.
This is not a summer movie.
Right. Hardtops were closed.
Yes.
Hardtop theaters were closed. Go back to the archives of the B.O. Boys. If you want to re-experience 2020.
Oh, gosh. Yes.
That's the way to do it. Not Eddington, even though, listen, I want people to go see it.
Yeah.
Ari Aster, he's made movies we like. But the way to re-experience 2020 is you go in the archives, you re-listen to that year plus of the B.O. Boys.
That's the real, if you really want to feel
Eddington.
it. Yeah.
That's the Eddington. So we talked about How to Train Your Dragon June 13th. I agree. That's the other possible secret Billy there. And you guys are on the page that it's bigger than Lilo and Stitch. So How to Train Your Dragon, you guys think biggest kids movie this summer?
I think it's possible. Like I said, it's going to be close.
I
I think
agree.
it could be between 20 and 25 million that separates those films. So you could basically flip a coin. It just depends, like how much, like How to Train Your Dragon has more films in its canon. And I think in terms of like, my daughter is like her generation. She's 18 now. She saw all those movies in the theater. So kids that are graduating now love that franchise. And this is, like you said, the first live action until they start making live action Shrek and live action Minions. And they freaking will, they will.
Oh,
and those will be the biggest hits.
And they will be horrific and we'll love them.
Yeah, exactly. And those are Billies. Those are Billies. You do Shrek live action, it's a Billy. Forget about Shrek 5. But
100%.
But Dragon is I think it's gonna surprise a lot of people. We do at Exhibitor Relations. If you go to the Twitter page, we're doing. I think today's the last day to enter, but you got to put your top 10 for the summer, and you got to post it on there today before midnight. So people do that. You guys too. A lot of people are actually. I've seen a lot of How to Train Your Dragon as number 1 in there.
Yeah.
So people are high on this thing.
I would say we would do that, but there's no way this recording is done before midnight to give us the chance to do that. That's the issues that we're easily doing another 5 hours. So
yeah, that's true.
This is going to be huge, but the following weekend. So How to Train Your Dragon opens on June 13th.
Wait, are we completely skipping over?
We got to go. Yeah.
I want to say the following weekend, just saying on the kids track.
Oh, okay.
Is Pixar's Ilio.
Oh, get out of here.
June 20th. Now, this is Father's Day weekend release. This is traditionally a big Pixar weekend. They didn't do it for Toy Story 4 because
a movie I'll never see because of that.
But last year, Pixar had Inside Out 2. They had the Billy. They had the biggest hit of the year. They should be riding high. Ilio, which got pushed back, was supposed to come out last year. They pushed it to the summer. Is this a movie that it's not going to be Inside Out 2? Of course not. But is this going to keep the goodwill going from that movie? People are back into Pixar again. I see you both Clayton, you're shaking your head.
Yeah.
Jeff, you are frowny face. And Jeff, does Ilio have any chance of being a hit, or is this a original stinker from Pixar?
I think it has an opportunity. It looks quality, but again, subject matter matters. They're going into the sci-fi arena with this. Does anybody remember Atlantis, Lightyear, Mars Needs Moms? Remember what happens when Disney? Strange World. Remember what happens when Disney follows a precocious 8-year-old boy into space? Good things do not happen. And this is a genre issue. It has nothing to do with the director who was the co-director of Coco. I think he might be directing Coco 2 as well. But the best thing you could say about this is maybe it has an elemental arc. So it opens lowish in the 30s, 40s, tops out at 150. I think that would honestly, sadly, for Pixar, that would be best case scenario for this film because of the genre. If it somehow got to 500 million worldwide, that would be exceptional for this film. And it's just, again, it's a genre thing. You look at the trailer and it's just like, this just doesn't push the narrative of a huge box office success like an Inside Out 2 and what has been working for Disney. This is not that thing that works.
And I don't even think Disney is excited about this movie either.
I agree.
Internally.
I agree with you.
I mean, they delayed it for a year, so that's usually not a good sign.
Yeah.
Where they basically, Bob Iger wanted to have a great year as a CEO, so he took this movie and moved it as far away from himself as possible.
Mm-hmm.
That's not usually a good sign. Yeah, the junk boy sci-fi genre, like you said, is a tough sell. Why isn't it not just princesses? I know Pixar doesn't do princesses. They do original, interesting things. But
well, where else are middle-aged men going to work out their issues than in children's animated films, Pat? Where else could they? What else could they do?
But sometimes that's a hit. Inside Out 2 was a lot of middle-aged people working out a lot of anxiety
But it was also a
And
young girl
Shoe
playing
Billy.
hockey, right? Like it was focusing on this young girl, and
not a boy in junk space.
Yeah, that's a real sweet spot, especially this summer where there's not a lot of films aimed at girls, right? This is honestly Inside Out 2 should have, they should have made a really quick sequel, 2.5, whatever you got to call it, because this summer overall is missing girl power, like a lot of girl power, and I think it's going to affect the overall box office more than people think.
Yeah. And it's tough. You could be like with Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon. They come out within a week or two of each other. I don't think they cannibalize each other at all. It's totally fine. You want to be the first choice. You could be the second choice. You don't want to fall into being the third choice for an audience. And that's what's going to happen to Ilio is they'll still be the third choice for kids. They'd rather probably see Lilo and Stitch a second or third time.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it's a kid's movie. The rats need their cheese. It will have legs throughout the summer. So I agree. I think the Elementals path makes sense for this. So none of us think that Brad Garrett as the third listed voice means much for the box office. We don't think that Brad Garrett, of course, of Brad Garrett's Vegas Comedy Club, maybe they do some advertising there at the Comedy Club. You don't think that matters much for the worldwide box office?
No.
Zoe Saldana coming off the Oscar win.
That everybody was happy about.
That everyone's happy about. That doesn't do much. Okay. I agree. I think that this is the third choice for kids. So, Clayton, there was a movie you were saying I skipped over.
Well, May 30th, Karate Kid Legends. I mean, this is a movie you drafted in our league.
You're right. We do have to cover Karate Kid Legends. No Jaden Smith in this one, Jeff. Is that going to be a problem? Why is he not one of the legends? Because I drafted this movie largely off of the Jaden Smith, Jackie Chan Karate Kid doing so absurdly well 10, 15 years ago.
Exactly 15 years ago. That film took off. It surprised everybody. $55 million debut. 360 million worldwide. Are you kidding me? And Jaden launched a new star. Like Jaden Smith was gonna be the next Will Smith after this thing, right? And then shit happens. People get slapped.
Happens.
Things
life
happen.
Gets in the way.
Yeah, life got in the way. The thing about Sony here, like I like what they're doing. I like that they're bringing Daniel-san back, Ralph Macchio, but even I couldn't figure out. It took me a long time to wrap my head around it. I'm like, wait. Does Cobra Kai not exist then in this universe? Is this a different multiverse film with the lead actor, with Ralph Macchio? Like, I still don't really, even after seeing the trailer, I'm like, I guess they could have, like, I feel like they could have snuck in a couple of the Cobra Kai kids just for fun. And that would have connected like this younger audience, but they chose not to do that. Honestly, I think that's a mistake. I understand what they're trying to do, but to me, it's like, man, if they hit 250 million worldwide total, that would be, I think, decent for this film. Again, it's tough. It's in a tough spot.
Could it open at 30? I mean, are we thinking that has no chance of opening at 30 million? Because it's the big movie of that weekend of May 30th.
Yeah.
Which
I think high 20s would be good, right?
Okay.
Like, I think that could be legit because it has a lot of Cobra Kai goodwill, but I think that 55 that Jaden Smith commanded, like it's just not going to get it, maybe half of that.
Yeah, and I feel like that year that the Karate Kid Jaden Smith movie did so well was a pretty rough summer where that ended up being a just hole filler in a summer. Was that like an Iron Man 2 or I forget what else was that summer, but I remember it not being a great one.
Yeah, that feels like that summer.
Yeah. So, Clayton, you're a Cobra Kai guy. Would this movie be more enticing to you if it was Jackie Chan, Ralph Macchio, Billy Zabka?
Oh, absolutely. Because the thing with Cobra Kai is that...
And Hilary Swank.
Well, of course. I mean, if Hilary Swank isn't in this movie, I'm going to be very disappointed. But I think the issue with me is that trailer looks so dour.
Yeah.
Does not look fun.
Doesn't look
what
fun.
Cobra Kai did so well, and of course, I stopped watching towards the later seasons because I don't watch a lot of TV the whole way through anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, after Sopranos and Girls, there's like nothing else for me. Oh well, and Entourage, but there's nothing else for me to watch. I don't need to watch anything else to completion. But the thing with this show is that it did a really good job of being a little bit cheesy, which Karate Kid is cheesy. I mean, the concept is cheesy, funny, but also dramatic. There's some dramatic stuff in Cobra Kai that you don't expect. What this movie makes it look like is sad people learning to fight for sad reasons. Ralph Macchio's character in this trailer looks disheveled. It looks like something bad happened. And I think if you're a fan of Cobra Kai, you don't want that. They just had their finale of this like long, successful show. And is this movie going to undo anything good and fun that happened? Right. So like, it looks like this guy's family was annihilated. Like that's what it looks like in the trailer. So like, I don't want to see that movie.
Right. Because in the show, he was like a successful used car salesman.
Yeah, he had a great family, and they're fighting, and they're karate fighting and stuff. And he basically adopted a kid and all this stuff. And then,
should this movie trailer have been scored to kung fu fighting? Even though it's not the Kung Fu Kid, it's the Karate Kid.
Yeah, well, that would have been fun.
It would have been fun.
It should have been something upbeat, right? Yeah. And also, Billy Zabka was the MVP of that show. Everybody knows it. People watch that show because of him. If it was just Ralph Macchio, all due respect, stay golden. I think that the fact that you're not seeing a whiff of him is a mistake.
Yeah. Unless honestly, he's in it and it's the surprise, but in which case...
Don't do it. Just
show us.
Don't assume that people are going to go see this movie like it's a Marvel movie.
Right.
And honestly, Kreese and all the bad guys that are in Cobra Kai, Silver and Kreese and the Asian woman that was in it too, like they were really good bad guys. Like I just don't see that. You bring them back into this, like it's just... You built so much goodwill through Cobra Kai, and now you're just saying, you know what? Forget that. We're going to be serious, and you're going to watch Karate Kid as it was meant to be. And I'm like, no, this is not.
It's saying Cobra Kai wasn't serious, but it was. Like that's the thing. It's telling a bunch of fans that all the stuff that you cared about, truly, that's not real. That's goofy. We don't want to do goofy because this is a movie.
Right. I mean, it could have been a Jackie Chan call where he said, "If you want me back." I don't want to have anything to do with Cobra Kai. That wasn't me. This is my Karate Kid. I don't know. Like, not to put it on him, but that's a movie though. I think the brand name will get enough people, and especially for a weekend that's usually a dead weekend at the box office. Because if you really look at the history of the summer, Memorial Day weekend, and then usually you don't have a big movie opening that next weekend. So I think it's good.
Yeah. If they spent 30, 40 million on this film, they're okay. If they spent 80, they're in trouble. That's where it's at.
I'm going to throw out, a movie that's opening the first weekend in June, because we're skipping around here. We're talking about the kids' movies. I think that Ballerina opening June 6th, I am more and more feeling like this is going to be sort of a breakout hit. I think that they're going to go hard with Keanu actually being in the movie.
He's back. He was thinking he's back, and he's back.
And he's back. Yeah. And he was thinking he was going to film enough footage that they could splice him throughout the movie. And he's going to be in enough footage that they're splicing him throughout the movie. I think Ballerina the John Wick franchise is just so beloved right now and so hot. And every movie gets bigger. And obviously Ballerina is not the next John Wick movie. But I think this is going to be, people are going to just take what they could get. I mean, Jeff, was there Ballerina hype pumped into CinemaCon? Where are you at?
I mean, they showed a very an extended scene, and it's just like they're watching John Wick without John Wick in it. Like it's exactly the same kind of kinetic furiosity that you're used to, right? And then Keanu Reeves shows up for a couple scenes. I still have a tough time though thinking that this spin-off, because isn't it set between like part 3 and 4 or something like that? I couldn't get a read.
But it is between films.
It's got to be before 4 because 4 ends with the implication that there might not be John Wick. Of course, there will be more John Wick.
There will be, But like, I don't know. As far as an action film goes, yes, I think it looks like it's very well done. But again, female action heroes do not usually fare well at the box office. It's just, there's a certain ceiling that they have at the box office. And as right or wrong, a lot of males who typically go to action films do not show up for these because they cry like, a woman couldn't do that. Whatever it is, whatever their lame excuse is for not going, they just don't go. And that has been proven at the box office time and time again. So you hope that Keanu Reeves is in it enough that people show up. But if it's just Anna, and even if she is good, I don't know that she's a big enough draw to make this John Wick level. Are we saying that 250 million worldwide is enough? If that's the case, that's a possibility. Yeah, I could see that. Again, they spent a lot of money on this movie, though. So I don't know if it's
Lionsgate's most important movie this summer, for sure.
And speaking to those guys that don't want to see a movie with a female as an action lead, even more so, this movie's called Ballerina. Yeah. So these guys in their pickup trucks, slamming back beers, get the bull's balls at the base of their tailgate, going around scratching, hand down their pants, spitting out tobacco,
flushing the toilet,
not flushing the toilet, not putting the seat down. Well, that's those kind of guys.
They're flushing the toilet just over and over again when they don't have to.
Oh, waste of water.
Because they just love the sound.
Okay. Yeah. These guys are going to go up to a ticket booth and say, "One for Ballerina"? I don't think so. That's the problem.
And even selecting that on your app, that is going to cause you, like, the next thing that opens on your app is, oh, you're looking for Ballerina stuff, and it'll open to Amazon. They don't want to. I don't think they want to risk that.
Okay.
Next time they're buying beef jerky by bulk or brain powder on Amazon, the ads at the top are going to be like, "Did you forget a tutu?"
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And someone's going to see that over their shoulder. They'll be like, "What are you into, man? I thought I knew you, man."
Yeah.
This is a weird. It'll be interesting to see how strong is the John Wick universe outside of an actual John Wick film, because they have plenty of other spinoffs that they want to do.
Right.
This will tell us a lot about whether they can do that.
And listen, I'm gonna throw out a title, and this is not a title that I stand behind or a title that I think that I would have come like. I think Ballerina's fine. I'm confident to go and say one for Ballerina. Mm-hmm. What if this was called Wick's Chick?
One for Wick's Chick. Are the truck drivers who flush toilets just to waste water? Are they more apt to go see One for Wick's Chick?
Well, here's the thing, too. You can also rebrand in different areas. In New York, Ballerina.
Yeah.
L.A., Boston, even Boston, major metropolitan areas.
Right.
Yes.
But if we're talking about Plain Billies, if we're talking about Earth Dogs, if we're talking about Stax Dwellers, they should just have on the posters Wick's Chick.
Right.
And you go and you buy a ticket for Wick's Chick because you're going to see the Ballerina.
Right.
And it's going to say Ballerina when you get there.
Right. And
the posters are just going to say Wick's Chick.
Yeah, yeah. And they're used to being duped at this point.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, well, you got me again.
Yeah.
I already bought the ticket.
There's over a month to do this. And I think you're right. I think that's probably how they want it. Clayton, I mean, I think you're onto something. And I don't know how many Lionsgate contacts you have, but throw this out to them quickly. Mm-hmm. It may save the film in the Deep South.
And I see. I'm so confident that I took this movie in our draft, so I do believe that it's going to do well. But I think it would do better in those areas if it was retitled.
Well, you've got skin in the game, so try and make those calls to Lionsgate and suggest that. Obviously, they're listening to this, so they're hearing it right now. And
this is our phone call.
So, in the month of June, Ballerina is a live action film that I think we have a kind of low ceiling on. June 20th, alongside Elio, you got 28 Days Later. This was the horror sequel that we were all hinting at before that we think is going to work in a big way. Just how big is that, though? Are we thinking this is a movie that is going to definitely make over 100 million domestic all in. Obviously, that would be the biggest of this franchise. You know, what is the ceiling for this? Because I think we all agree, everyone loved the trailer. It's one of those franchises coming back at the right nostalgia time, probably culturally the right time for whatever. I feel like every time a zombie movie comes out now or a zombie thing, people say, well, this is the perfect time in our history for a zombie because
we're all staring at our phones.
But this does feel big, but just how big is that? You know, are we overestimating it? And in the end, the ceiling for this movie is still probably 100 to 125 domestic total.
Yeah, this is the greatest trailer in the last 28 years. I mean, I think we can all say that, right?
Yeah.
When I saw that trailer, I was just like, wow. I mean, they completely killed it with this thing. But 28 days later and 28 weeks later, absolutely did not kill it in theaters. Like, they both opened at 10 million. One eked out 45 million domestic. The other only 26 million domestic, right? And 64 million worldwide. They did nothing. So Danny Boyle has never really been a director that
Slumdog was a huge hit.
Well, yeah, but like consistently, if you look at his box office track record, it's not there. I would love
Trainspotting 2 did not connect at the box
No,
office.
it didn't connect. And even the first one, like, it was fine for what it was, but it didn't connect outside like the hardcore toilet divers, like A Quiet Place. I would love for this to turn into A Quiet Place, but and Sony wants it to. I mean, they already have The Bone Temple in production, which is a spinoff directed by Nia DaCosta, right? And that comes out January of 2026. So they're expecting big things from this, and they got a great trailer. But if they hit 75 million domestic, I think that would be great. Like, and I think if this opens at 26 million, which is what the entire gross for 28 weeks later was, that's also a great start because this film, again, didn't cost a lot. So, I think because the trailer is so good, we're so hyped on it, but we just have to remember that audience has never really been there for this franchise. And let's just hope they pick up new people with this great trailer that they have.
I think the one benefit this movie has, other than the trailer, which is spectacular, obviously, is the Alex Garland situation where he is a name that people know now.
Yep.
And he is involved in this movie. Now, whatever you want to say about Civil War, people know that's an Alex Garland movie. Warfare is an Alex Garland movie. He's had a lot of success on television in the sense of people really liking the stuff that he was doing there. I think the fact that people now know that Alex Garland is behind this film will draw more people in.
Have they hid Aaron Taylor Johnson enough to not turn off people because he's in it? People. I mean, Kraven the Hunter is in this movie. Though, you know what?
We were talking about this. Nosferatu.
So Nosferatu was a good reclamation for him. And this is going to be a hit. So we're back to, here's the thing. I guess the most important thing coming out of the 28 years later box office, will this be a big enough hit that Aaron Taylor Johnson will now get cast as James Bond from this movie?
No, absolutely not.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Zero chance. Here, the problem that 28 years later runs into is because, again, we are the oldies. We're talking about this. And guess what happens the week after Megan 2 drops? The week after this film. So guess what? Its legs are going to be just chopped off because Megan is so freaking adorable and popular with the kiddies. So it is going to push 28 weeks later to the small 15-seat screens like that. So it better have a big opening weekend because it's gonzo after this.
Okay, let's just say right now, which movie in the end has a bigger domestic haul, Megan 2.0 or 28 years later? Jeff?
Oh, Megan by leaps and bounds.
Is Megan 2.0 a potential huge breakout because she's the hero now? They're doing this is the T2. Could this be a movie that the first one, almost made 100, like 95 million and it stalled out? Is this a movie that this opens at 40 or 50 million and it could get to 150 because Megan is the hero.
Yeah, I think it's the teens, it's the teeny boppers, it's the tweens that fell in love with this girl. And you're right, they made her the hero in this for a reason, because they know who they have and what they have with her. In part 3, she can turn back to being an evil bitch, but right now it's a team up movie, and it's a great concept, honestly. Like,
it's what they should do with Darth Vader.
Yeah, Blumhouse needs this. Blumhouse hasn't really done much with their films lately. This is a big one for them, and this could turn into a $100 million hit. 250 million worldwide would be huge for this little film.
All right, I'm going to throw this at you guys. So that Friday.
What was CJ on the screen?
Friday, June 27th. You got Megan 2.0, and you got another movie with a number in the title. You got F1, both coming out. Is F1 number 1 and Megan 2.0 number 2? Or is Megan 2.0 number 1 and F1 possibly done? What movie opens bigger on that weekend?
Oh,
Clayton goes first.
I have both of these movies in the draft.
Yeah.
In our movie league. I think Megan 2.0.
Wow.
I think the thing with F1 is that it's for oldsters more. It's a movie that is going to find an audience. I think it looks spectacular. I'm hoping it does Baffa Bobo.
Joseph Kosinski, director of Maverick. Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt. I do think, though, kids are going to rush out to see Megan before adults will rush out to see F1.
Wow, Jeff.
Clayton, what do you think? What do you think Megan 2 hits opening weekend?
I think it could be 45.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So then we're thinking F1 is a $30 million only opening.
I think it's 30 something.
Okay.
I think it's and then it's gotta get momentum. It's gotta get people to say, this is great. This is a movie, a real movie. This is a real movie for real people.
What did Ford versus Ferrari open out with?
That's a great question.
Because that movie got itself over 120 or so domestic. That was or maybe a little less than that, but it was.
I feel like that's a good compare. Like whatever that did is probably what F1 is going to do.
Yeah, I mean that opened in November of that year. It opened alongside Little Women. F1 though, here's the issue with F1 is it's an Apple movie that is being distributed through a partnership with Warner Brothers. So Warner Brothers didn't make this movie. They're getting some kind of fee to get it in theaters. Are they going to work as hard as they worked on a Minecraft movie, on Sinners? Or are they just taking their fee, getting it into the theaters, putting the standees up? Like, I worry about the marketing of this movie because Warner Brothers doesn't really have skin in the game, and Apple doesn't know what it's doing promoting movies. So that's where I worry. And of course, F1 is for adults. It's not going to be Happy Meal race cars and that kind of thing. I think the thing with F1 is it's got to be great.
That's the thing. It's got to be great. And the thing is with F1 is it is more of an international sport. So I think this will do really well overseas. But are the people who watch the reality F1 show on Netflix going to take their money and put it where their mouth is and sit in a theater and experience this film? That's the question. Yeah. Because it's taking somebody who's passive and trying to make them active. And in America, that's very, very hard.
Well, and the other thing with F1 is it's probably not going to open gigantic because it's not IP. Why would it? It's got to have legs. But it's going to lose IMAXs immediately because F1 opens on Friday, June 27th. And then the following Friday, July 2nd, it's Big T-Rex weekend, Jurassic World Rebirth. This F1 could find itself in a dead reckoning situation where it just immediately loses all its PLFs and there goes the business. That's what I fear.
I will say this at CinemaCon, Warner Brothers really spent a lot of time on F1. Okay. I think they showed a 15-minute extended special edition preview, and you guys are gonna love it. I know I'm gonna love it. Mm-hmm. It does feel like it feels like another Maverick. You know, it's almost like it's Days of Thunder 2, but now with Brad Pitt instead of, you know, and that's what it feels like. It's obviously Joseph Kosinski, the same director as Maverick, right? And it looks so good. Like, but ultimately the problem isn't the film itself, which is going to be epic. It's the genre. Like people don't go to race car movies. They no matter how good they are, they're not huge box office successes. You know, Paramount, back when it released Days of Thunder, like 4 years after Top Gun, that's what they thought they had. They thought they had the next Top Gun, right? And it opened at 15 million and did 157 million worldwide. You know, it was not Top Gun. And unfortunately F1, you know, even if they made Days of Thunder 2, they would find out that that's not Maverick either. You know, that's not going to do Maverick numbers. F1 is about race cars. A race cars is just you going around in circles. You know, I love the drama. You guys love the drama. We love the smell of the grease. But for the most part, young kids, even if we're talking about this Netflix series, it's not a big enough sport to carry over to bring new audiences to honestly really be that interested in Brad Pitt. You know, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I could see it doing those kind of numbers, you know, maybe upwards of 400. Yeah, which would be great for this film, but it's not Maverick. It's not, you know, it's not going to make 700 million worldwide. It's probably not going to bust out, you know. But you know what? Again, I can't wait for this movie. This is going to be a solid performer, I think.
You know what I'll say as we go through these, and budgets are budgets. Who knows if F1's going to cover whatever Apple spent on it. But as we go through all these weeks, there do not feel to be dead weeks at the theater. Like I do think as we look at the summer, the theaters themselves are getting good product. I don't think there's too many of these movies we listed that are going to be furiosas, that are going to be giant disasters. You know, maybe Karate Kid Legends does that. Who knows?
Yeah, but I think I think you're right, Pat. You're hard pressed to find a real big bomb. Just like last summer, there wasn't, like, outside of Furiosa, you know, there usually is like 2 or 3 stinkers. And unless Elio totally fails and Karate Kid Legends flails and maybe Naked Gun flails or something like that, it feels like all of these films will find a pretty decent audience. There may not be any Billies. After all, there may not be. It's very close whether they're going to get to Billy or not. But they're going to be like a lot of 700, 800, 900 million dollar performers out there. And that's good.
Even if an Elio bombs, it's coming out the same weekend as 28 Days Later. Like, there don't feel to be dead weekends. Like, think back to June, you know, May and June last year until Inside Out came out. We were freaking out. And then, well, I guess Bad Boys was the one that started the savior. You know, Inside Out 2 gets the credit, but it was Bad Boys 4, which was not Bad Boys 4 Life, which is Bad Boys 3. That did right the ship. So Jurassic World Rebirth, July 2nd. I mean, this movie, I think it's just bomb-proof. Listen, you're not going to have Jurassic Park or Jurassic World again, where it is both of those movies were phenomenons when they came out, but this is as reliable a franchise as you're going to get. I guess the question here is, Jeff, the Jurassic World trilogy, they each declined a bit. Is that going to stop here? Do we think Jurassic World Rebirth does better than that last Chris Pratt Jurassic Park movie that was actually about locusts and not dinosaurs?
Yeah. No,
I think so.
I think the decline keeps on going. I don't think there's enough time. Like, that was 2022 when Big D came out, and Big D, you know, just got over that billion. Like, it was close. We weren't sure if it was going to make it. And if you look at Jurassic World, it was 1.6 billion. Fallen Kingdom was 1.3. Big D was 1 billy. So I think this doesn't hit a billy. I think it gets to 900 though. 900 is great. 900 is a great number for a Rebirth, right? Because you can build on that, hopefully. But the big problem here, I think, is Scarlett Johansson is not a draw at the box office outside of, you know, maybe a Black Widow or whatever she was in. I mean, that was the character. That she is not a draw. help me, Mahershala Ali. Yeah, Mahershala, I think, is a great actor. Still not a draw yet either. You know, you needed a Tom Cruise. I mean, was Glenn Powell not available for this? Because that would have been perfect. If he came from Twisters to Jurassic World the same way that Vince Vaughn did back in the day when he was becoming a big star. He was in the Lost World the next summer, and it was perfect because you wanted to see more of him. Audiences would have just flocked to this film if Glenn Powell was the star, right?
If it was Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney in this
Jurassic Jesus, are you kidding? Yeah,
you don't even need dinosaurs.
This would be 1.5 billion. So, but as it stands, I just don't think it's enough. It looks high octane like they usually are, but I think it needed a big star in this to push a Billy. Again, still going to be big because everybody's going to go see dinosaur movies. That's what we do. We go see shark movies. We go see dinosaur movies. It is our obligation as theater goers to go see this over the 4th of July. You are not an American if you choose not to watch this, right?
Right. 100% you're not.
That's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Because this opens July 2nd, that's a Wednesday. So this is a 5-day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the thing is dinosaurs perennially are kid favorites. You turn 5, 6, 7, and you become a fan of dinosaurs. It just is what it is. T-Rexes will forever be popular once you hit kindergarten. So there is that audience. Yeah, the ScarJo thing, I think she's famous in that she will be able to be a recognizable face who goes around and promotes this movie.
She'll eat the wings.
She'll eat the wings. She's just not in the moment hot. Her peak, everyone has their peak, and her moment was at a different time. So now she's perennially famous, but she's not Sydney Sweeney, Glenn Powell, who are in their peak.
But when did she ever get people to the theater on her own? She never did. She never had a hit rom-com. She had a few Woody Allen movies that people liked that did good for Woody Allen box office.
Right. I think Match Point probably is the only one.
Yeah. And so otherwise...
She had the one action movie. What was the one action movie? Lucy.
She had Lucy.
She had Lucy.
Yeah.
I would say 2014 is her peak.
What was the anime live action adaptation?
Ghost in the Shell did not do well.
And that's, again, that was selling on just her name alone, and it just didn't, you know?
Yeah. Lucy is the height of just a who cares premise, but because of Scarlett Johansson in an action movie, it did really well.
Well, and a lot of it was because people thought that they were giving away single cigarettes.
That is true. But that was just the first weekend. Yeah. People figure that out.
And then they liked the movie and they went and saw it.
Yeah.
Now, just Jurassic really quick. So obviously Jurassic World, because there was that huge gap, you know, between the last movie and this one. So that made what? 653 domestic, and then the sequel to that 417, and then Dominion, the Big D, 376. I'm thinking this movie makes at best 315 domestic.
I think it's going to be steadier.
There's no plus to this.
There's no plus, but there's no minus, and it's still dinosaurs, Jurassic Park, great.
I think there is a minus. I think there's a minus that it's not a long enough distance to start a new trilogy. And I think a minus is that neither of these people in this film matter to anybody when it comes to buying a ticket for them as stars.
Goldblum. There's none of those legacy characters that were like in all over the Jurassic World ones, right?
Yeah.
Like we always had one of them show up if it wasn't Goldblum. You know, it was one of the other characters, but we don't get that now. Now we're dangling on our own, and you're putting the meat out there. The chum is out there, but why do we want to bite? And I really do think, I think you're talking about, you know, 300 million domestic, like max, like that's top of the line.
So I'm going to throw this out there. As we look at this July, it is basically 3 movies. There's some other movies coming out, but July is about the big ones. It's about Jurassic World on July 2nd. It's about Superman on July 11th. And it's about Fantastic Four First Steps, July 25th. Like the month of July is those 3 movies. Of those 3, is Jurassic the one that we feel has the biggest chance then of severely underperforming? I think it's steady. I think it is.
I think Superman has the best chance of severely under performing.
All right, well, let's talk about it then. So Superman opens a week and a half later. It opens July 11th. This is huge in terms of the importance. This is the movie that so many other things are relying on what this movie does.
Mm-hmm.
James Gunn, his first movie as the head of DC, it's rebooting Superman, rebooting DC, rebooting Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Like, this is her film
shot.
career. This is her shot.
Yeah.
So that's, you got to count that in there.
Because she could go from the amateur to having to do amateur.
Yes, depending on what this movie does, for sure.
Yeah.
Jeff, I heard that the CinemaCon presentation of Superman did not go over well. I've heard different reports about the James Gunn and the cast on stage was just a rambling, babbling mess. Some people came out of that feeling a little down on this movie. Obviously, that doesn't matter so much because no one will ever see that.
Yeah.
But I keep going back and forth on this movie. It definitely, of these three, has the biggest swing of what it could do.
I think Pat, you're right. This is the hardest film. And, we all put out our summer picks, and I've gone back and forth both ways on this. Well, it could do this, but it might not do this. And all the reports I've been getting, even at CinemaCon, like Warner Brothers is so hyped on this. We were getting the hype way more than the Flash on this. I mean, Warner Brothers started their presentation with, "Are you ready for the summer of Superman?" I mean, that's what they want this to be.
Yeah.
It comes out on 7/11, which is 7-Eleven day, right? It's Slurpee day, guys. Like, you can't get any bigger than this. Like, this means summer, right? Slurpees mean summer.
Can there be kryptonite flavored Slurpees?
There better be. If there is not, and that's what I said. I said, if they don't do a deal, and I haven't seen anything yet, if they don't do a deal with 7-Eleven on this film, automatically this will be one of the biggest misfires of the summer because of what's expected. It's just a foregone conclusion that they have to make it fun. And James Gunn is all about making it fun, right? He's in it for the laughs. Like, this is not Superman 78. This is not Superman Returns. This is not Snyder's Man of Steel. This is the funny Marvel version of DC Superman, right? And
are they marketing it that way? Because I'm not seeing that.
This is what was shown at CinemaCon, which was a lot of the funnier elements of this film, right? It was also like they showed, and I think they've released this. It's the backstage trailer of them kind of making the movie and the funny things and how much they all loved each other and loved making this film, right? Like, that's kind of what this backstage trailer was. It was kind of a reel that showed just how much fun they had making this film. But that, to me, I was suspicious. I was like, well, just show me the film. Just show me cuts of the film and how great that film is. And now, through studio sources, I've heard, again, this is just rumor, so don't take it 100% positive. This is 50-50. This is like Twitter. I've heard that the test screenings are not going so well on this. Again, it's hearsay, but it's from sources that I trust, right? So if Man of Steel made $670 million, right? Adjusted for inflation, that's about $920 million worldwide. So that is the bottom line. That is where we need to start. That's where this film has to finish, right? Because they're resetting the entire DC universe with this film, basically. And James Gunn is the head of this, and he's calling all the shots from here on out. So if this film doesn't eclipse Snyder's Man of Steel, do you know how apeshit social media is going to get? They're just going to rip.
The Snyder boys are going to go bananas.
Oh, they're going to go. So there's so much writing on this hitting. It doesn't have to hit a billy, but it does have to get, like I said, 920 million. And that's going to be tough, because if it's not as good, or if it's not what people exactly want, which is Superman 78, because that is the perfect Superman film. We all know that. It may be the perfect comic book film of all time, of any time. And it was made in 1978, right? And so that's what you're up against too. You're up against a comic book hero that honestly, they already made a perfect Superman film. Maybe, and you could argue they made two of them already, And so you're trying to reboot this for some ha-has and some laughs and some LOLs. And I don't know that it's the Superman people want. You know, Warner Brothers needs this, but I don't know if the audience exactly wants this film. And that's where I'm at this. It's going to be a tough sell. It has to just blow critics away. And
it has to be great.
Yeah.
And not all movies have to be, because Jurassic World does not have to be great. I think it'll make what it's going to make, whether it's, as long as it's not a disaster. The reviews don't matter. I think Fantastic Four, similarly. Superman, James Gunn, for this to be a huge hit, it actually has to be great and a word of mouth sensation.
And the problem with Superman is that he was a hard sell as a character, even at the height of superhero madness. I mean, he did not get a sequel. He got a team-up movie with a way, way, way more beloved and popular superhero film-wise. Superman is the equivalent of the Incredible Hulk for Marvel. The Incredible Hulk will never have another solo movie. I'm saying never as in the next 20 years. I mean, obviously, after we're dead, everything will happen. But they made a conscious choice to be like, this character, Incredible Hulk, is popular, but not popular enough to hold their own in a solo movie. Superman is the same. I'm so sorry. He is not somebody, and that's why when you're hearing about all these people being cast, they've got Guy Gardner in there, they've got this guy, because he cannot stand on his own. So they're throwing all these different characters in to make it a movie people want to see. But the problem is too, it's like, well, no one wants to see Guy Gardner. Like nobody in a regular walk of life wants to see that.
Is that a man's name, or is he a what is
he's
Guy
a Green
Gardner?
Lantern.
He's a Green Lantern.
Okay.
He has a bowl cut and he's a jerk.
Okay.
And he was big in the comic books, but most people, I mean, he's like the equivalent of John Walker for most people. Like, you know, only his name isn't. I don't think there's an American Taliban member named Guy Gardner. But if
is Guy short for Giuseppe? Why is his name Guy?
I have no clue.
Okay.
I have no clue. But what I'm saying here is that we're way past people loving all superhero movies unconditionally. This doesn't look fun. They're not selling me fun.
There's the dog. Crypto the dog. Jeff, we've talked about that.
Doge.
Yeah. Is Crypto a bad name to have right now for a dog in your superhero movie?
It's just a bad idea in general that they spent. I mean, there's a trailer that's just the dog scene, right? Well, that's how they open CinemaCon too. I'm like, oh shit, that's the best thing they got is a dog dragging Superman to his fortress, to a castle to the fortress with robots taking care of him. It's weird. It's a totally different Superman. It's a totally different vibe. Like I said, they already made the perfect Superman, guys. It's 78, and part 2 is pretty damn good too. Clayton's right. He's a man out of time right now. He just doesn't fit with the times that are going on right now. He'd be great in a Hall of Justice movie if we only had him for 20 minutes, you know. He's got to fly off to do some other shit. So let Batman and Robin and Wonder Woman handle the important stuff, and Superman will come in for a couple cameos. And that's all you need to see of Superman, you know. If you're gonna do Superman, you know, do the Red Dawn. What is the Red Dawn version? The version where he's Russian, where he lands in Russia instead of the United States. Like that is a great story. That would be something different, you know. I would like to see that on film. But this
I
version
think there'd
of Superman,
be a lot of plain billies and Earth dweller or Earth dogs right now who would be like, I want my Superman to be Russian.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and the things that you could do with that, but man, this is the big question mark of the summer. Is it really the summer? Is it the summer of soups, or does Marvel swoop in with Fantastic Four, which has its own? I mean, it looks beautiful. It looks wonderful. And then, you know, the further you delve into this, you know, Matt Shackman, who directed this, was the overseer of WandaVision, right? Which, you know, you may not like WandaVision, but I thought the way it was set up and the production design was incredible, and kind of sort of blew me away with, wow, this is a great vision that someone had for a project, and now he's directing this Fantastic Four, which looks like it's its own world and really almost recreates the Marvel universe in his own vision, which sets us up for the next Avengers film. And I'm like, yeah, this might be the one. I'm not saying it's going to be the Deadpool versus Wolverine, but it looks like something that really will interest Marvel fanatics and other people, because you're stepping into a new world again. And that was the pull of these comic book movies in the first place before they all started to look like Thunderbolts.
So
this is
I'm going to say right now,
Marvel film, that's what it feels like.
Fantastic Four First Steps will be no lower than the third biggest movie of this summer.
Yeah.
I think the two kids movies, How to Train Your Dragon and Lilo and Stitch, are the only movies that could finish ahead of this. And this possibly could be the number one movie this summer. This possibly could be a Billy. Not just saying it because I drafted it, and this movie hitting those numbers will seal the deal for me winning the league. I do think this is the movie that superheroes are not dead. Marvel is not dead. The Bazinga Bros have not left the earth. They are here among us. They're going to the theaters. This is the movie that they're going to get themselves excited for. Fantastic Four feels like a fresh start to whatever the next batch of Marvel is. I think this is going to be effing huge. Effing huge. I know, Clayton, you've got that sourpuss pill face on right now because I'm talking about a Marvel movie doing huge numbers. But I think this movie is going to be gigantic.
I want movies to succeed. I want theaters to succeed. Movies and superhero movies among those need to be big.
Yeah. And especially if Superman doesn't do what they're hoping it does, movie theaters are going to have a backlog of popcorn after that middle of July.
Why I'm being skeptical is that 60s futurism look has never succeeded ever in any movie. Maybe in the 60s.
Wasn't The Incredibles? Is that not The Incredibles aesthetic?
The Incredibles
was that modern?
The Incredibles was modern. The Incredibles was a Pixar film, so that doesn't really count. I'm talking about and I don't think it had the same sort of aesthetic. This sort of, utopian vision of the 60s, there's a reason why there's never been a Jetsons movie. This
we'll get one after this opens to $140 million.
This to me does not
Jeff knows.
Look good visually either. I mean, I think this
Marvel. It doesn't matter. They all look like trash.
It looks like TV to me. It just does. I think that
so do the Iron Man movies. Those movies are terrible.
I don't think,
and it's fine.
This is going to have enough interest with the outside world to make it a breakout. Bigger than maybe I could see it being bigger than Thunderbolts, of course. I think it's going to be way bigger than Captain America, but I don't think this is $1 billion baby. I just don't see it.
I think this is people are going to take this as okay. Now they're getting good again.
Yeah, that's how I see it too. And I know that Pedro Pascal is overplayed a little bit, but man, he's perfect for this role. Like when you see the trailer and the characters and the interaction between these four, I think we finally get a Fantastic Four movie that really resembles the comic books, And I honestly, I agree with Pat on this one in that you're not only going to get the oldsters, you're going to get the young people going to this, the people that take the best parts out of WandaVision, which was the creation of a new world. And I think Matt could be a huge director after it. Like if this goes off, Matt could go to that top of that list. He'll jump the Russo brothers as Marvel's go-to guy. That's how big I think this has the potential to be.
I think they're getting cold feet on the Pizza Boys, the Russo brothers. I do think there is a chance they don't end up directing Doomsday if Fantastic Four.
And it goes to Matt. I think so.
I think
he has a visual flair as a director. I know, Clayton doesn't, that might not be for you, but I think it is for audiences. And I think general audiences have proven they want something a little new. This is something new. You're right. It's never worked. But before Pirates of the Caribbean, that never worked. Pirates never worked at the box office. there's a way to make it work, and I think Marvel's tapped into that. There was a Jetson animated film back in I think it was the mid 80s, maybe late 80s or early 90s.
Oh, that was theatrical.
Yeah, it was theatrical, but it did bomb. You're right. Like, and I would like to see that live action version of that. And I mean, let's just reboot the Flintstones. I know Warner Brothers actually is doing a new Flintstones cartoon, but shit, man, why not jump the
live
gun
action Jack Black as Fred Flintstone?
Exactly.
What are we doing here? Jack Black as Fred Flintstone.
Yes, it's time.
It's time. And Moranis could come back as Barney because he was.
Oh, hell yeah.
Part.
Hell yeah.
And, so let's keep moving along though, because we're now just getting into August, unless there's anything else in July. Well, actually, July we haven't talked on the horror.
Well, this was the one I was going to say.
Yeah.
Clayton.
I know what you did last summer.
Yeah.
This is the one that this looks like straight to Amazon. This looks so sea level to me.
It's from Sony Pictures.
The young cast look like you couldn't pick them out of a lineup.
Mm-hmm.
All love to Freddie Prinze, but he hasn't really kept camera ready, which is fine. You don't have to.
Okay.
You don't have to.
No.
Because he's doing his wrestling podcast. He's doing a bunch of stuff. Love the guy. He's still married to the same woman.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember her name, but they've been married for a very long time.
Buffy.
Yeah. And then you've got Sarah Michelle Gellar. No, I'm sorry. That's who the person.
That's who she is. You remember her name. You just had to think of her in the context of being a movie star, not the wife of.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Mm-hmm.
She's in this movie, and I guess she stars on that 911 show on Fox, but she's had no cultural footprint since she was the Ghost Whisperer. And I just think, as somebody who enjoyed those first two movies, have like no interest in this at all, because it just looks really bad.
Well, they were always, I Know What You Did Last Summer was very much a let's do this because Scream was a hit.
Yeah.
It really just fed off of the goodwill of Scream and just people wanting those teen slashes at the time. Yeah, I mean, is this a movie that opens at like 10 or 11 million and makes it in the 20s?
Well, yeah, I think honestly, teens, mid-teens, maybe high teens if they get lucky. But yeah, there's no cultural relevance anymore. And these were always mid films. They each opened at 15, 16 million. Even back in the day, they weren't hugely popular. Sony is just grasping for anything. Let's be honest, like between, Karate Kid Legends and this, it's not going to be a great summer. Hopefully 28 years later blows up and does more than we expect. But it's not going to be a great summer for Sony. This is going to be a tough summer for Sony.
We're not the Streamo boys, huh? But I'll say it right now, Sony's got the deal with Netflix where their movies go to Netflix. I Know What You Did Last Summer requel will do great on Netflix when it hits Netflix.
That's probably where I will see it.
100%. And you got a Smurfs movie.
Yeah,
Paramount. Is this an animated film, or is this a live action, or is this a hybrid?
I think it's a hybrid.
Is this a puppet film?
I think it's both, because they start animated and then they go into the real world. So it's both. It's everything that you wanted that you didn't know you wanted out of a Smurfs film. But unfortunately, audiences don't want anything to do with the Smurfs film anymore. And as Lost Village, I think the Lost Village was the last Smurfs film.
Yeah,
that was in 2017.
That first Neil Patrick Harris Smurfs movie did great, and then the second one was a direct sequel and it did terribly.
Yeah, like that first one, like you said, did over $500 million. That was amazing for a Smurfs film. So no wonder, I think that was Sony. So Paramount has it now. They've got the property now. It's like whoever the highest bidder is. Lionsgate will have it next, and then A24 will get the next Smurfs movie. That'll just be Smurfette. It'll just be called Fett, I think, and they will do their own version of Smurfette. It'll probably be more like X, it'll probably be like the X trilogy.
I love
but that's
that
where Smurfs
idea.
is heading. Yeah, I do too. But again,
is that Jenna Ortega's big role?
Yes.
Should she play Smurfette
in
a adult-oriented R-rated Smurfette movie.
Because we all
Called
know
Red.
we've had feelings about Smurfette. We all have. We grew up with her. She was a very hot and sexy Smurf. You know, she was the only one, let's be honest. But there was something about Smurfette. And that's what still carries on today. I think Rihanna is playing Smurfette. And
she is.
Two years ago at CinemaCon, she was there performing. And then this year, guess what? Zero, nothing. There was nothing about Smurfs. Rihanna was not in the building. So they have totally dropped this. Paramount is not promoting it very well. They know it's not going to do much business.
Could this end up not in theaters and go straight to P+?
I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, if it opens in the mid to low 20s, that's probably where it's going to be at. There's just no, again, cultural relevance for this, and it's stuck between Superman and Fantastic Four, not where you want to be.
No,
it's musty. This is a musty IP.
Yeah, this is an okay, but I do think that there is a Gargamel and Smurfette R-rated movie that could actually revive the IP.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like a baby girl type movie.
Yeah, baby girl. 50 Shades of
He's
Grey.
telling her what to
Sydney
do.
Sweeney as Gargamel and Smurfette. Yeah.
Let's talk to A24 and let's get that set up now. No need to wait.
Well, they heard us say it, so that's now run with it.
It's done.
A24.
It's
Make
done.
the deal. All right. Looking at August, The Bad Guys 2 on August 1st. Is this a slam dunk to be the biggest movie of August? Is there anything that could? The first Bad Guys movie almost got to 100 domestic. It was in that 90-something range.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is going to be a breakout sequel, but
this makes it. This definitely makes 100. Yeah. Oh yeah. The goodwill is very strong with this one. The only thing that could beat it is Weapons. If Weapons does has a sinner's move, which hell, listen, until yesterday I was watching basketball. The NBA, because you only watch basketball when it's in the playoffs, right? There's no reason to watch professional basketball outside of that. But it was the playoffs, so I was watching.
And the playoffs
after the game,
3 months.
Yeah, exactly. After the game, there's a Sinners preview, and I'm like, I know the trailer just dropped, but you don't advertise a film that comes out in the August, which is the dog days of summer, right? Where they just the shit show after shit show is released.
Yep.
Warner Brothers spent big bucks advertising this film that doesn't open for 4 months, you guys. So that tells me they are so excited about this film. And that's exactly what was the case at CinemaCon. Krager was out there. They're talking about it. They are so excited to have this film, and Universal not having this film. Warner Brothers, I think they're spending some of that Sinners money already. They're trying to make this the next big thing in horror, and it just might be.
It opens on August 8th. It's Zach Krager, who was a guest on this show, and I think he's going to have to come back on the BO Boys to promote Weapons.
Mm-hmm.
People are buzzing about that trailer. It's a great premise.
The teaser is
Kids
great.
just leave a house in the middle of the night,
arms out,
and then they disappear.
Ooh,
This movie, I mean, could this open, like if the buzz continues and then the reviews are great, this is a movie that could open in the 20s? Could open 30
I think
million?
so. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's horror.
It's horror.
Yeah, I think it gets in the 30s easily, and we could be talking about more if they keep pushing money into this. Let's say Superman doesn't do what it does, right? And so they're like, hey, let's forget Superman. Let's talk about Weapons and how great our original films are. And they just pump the shit out of it after Superman for a month, and that's a possibility, because I think we all know the Krager's going to deliver the goods. It's going to be a great film.
Mm-hmm.
And now if you can get that Sinners audience, if you can get them interested, you got something here. You're talking about it. Maybe another cultural phenomenon the same year. That would be pretty cool if Warner Brothers could pull that off.
Yeah. And it would be new IP. It would be another original hit, and it would be something for this generation to own, the way Sinners, Minecraft movie. These are the young people wanted new stuff.
Yeah.
Weapons
pretty soon
could be that.
Yeah. Warner Brothers is looking like a pretty good investment right now in the future of film, of movie making, with that, with the new let's just call Final Destination what it is. It's going to be the start of another like 6 films, right? So they've got that going for them too. So, no matter what happens with DC, and DC will continue on and do its thing, but I think these original things and their horror films that they have, that's where it's at right now. And I think Warner Brothers is onto something.
Yeah. So let's just talk 2 IP movies that are opening early August. So you got The Naked Gun, a reboot of the Naked Gun series from One of the Lonely Island. This is from Akiva, is the director of this. And then you got Freakier Friday from Walt Disney, which a couple of years ago, Disney would have sent that to D+. It would have been there alongside Hocus Pocus 2. Freakier Friday is coming out in theaters. Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. Do either of these IPs matter? Which one do you think has a bigger upside? Either of you. Clayton, Naked Gun or Freakier Friday, which one will be a bigger domestic haul?
Oh, man.
In August?
Well, all due respect to the Quaid Army, I would hope that Naked Gun would be a righteous kill. And by that, I don't mean the box office of the movie Righteous Kill.
No, of course. You're in the Quaid Army.
Yeah. And they know what that means. I'm just really, straight comedy just doesn't play in the theaters. And I don't see why this would break out.
It's an interesting play to try and get a comedy in the theaters using IP. It would be, you don't see that a lot. And obviously there's the Ghostbusters movies, but that's sci-fi action comedy. If something like Naked Gun worked, then you could look at, do we reboot the Hangover movies as an IP? Is there something about Mary in IP without the stars? It's interesting. I love that they're trying to get a big comedy in the theaters. I mean, we grew up on every weekend there'd be a big comedy coming out in the movie theaters. I want it to work.
Me too.
I love the OJ joke in the trailer.
It's great.
That did get buzz.
And this played huge at CinemaCon. This trailer in particular was probably one of the top 5 moments in terms of just overall laughter and excitement, from theater owners, right? So they really liked it. You're right. Comedy is one of the toughest sells. You look at Eddie Murphy and Beverly Hills Cop 4 and Coming to America, they both went straight to Netflix. Like, that's pretty sad, honestly, because I feel
they
like
should have came out in theater.
Yeah, given the right support, they could have been pretty big at the box office. So I hope this is too.
I'm not a critic, but Coming to America is one of the worst.
That was terrible.
One of the worst films I've ever seen.
Beverly Hills Cop 4 should have hit theaters last summer. Obviously, it was never going to happen. But that would have done business as just Eddie Murphy. He still looks screen ready in an action comedy with a brand name. That would have done well.
Coming to America probably waited about 20 years too long to make a sequel. If they would have done it right away, a few years after, I think they could have come up with something a lot better. But Naked Gun, as far as like Liam Neeson, this is the perfect role for him since he's been dragged through he's been dragged through it, guys. Like, he's almost to the point where, he's making films for Samuel Goldwyn. He's making films for distributors that you've never heard of. I think he's probably done some for Ketchup Entertainment. I don't know. Liam is almost out of making films in theaters. And to see him come front and center from a major studio like Paramount is honestly a great thing. And it plays to that too, in terms of that is a gold mine of comedy to be unearthed. I think just having him front and center and making fun of himself and all the stupid films that he's been doing over the last decade, I think audiences honestly will respond to it. And God, my hope is we get a new trilogy out of this. If it can open in 20, 25, 28 million, that would be great. If it can make up to 80 million, I think honestly, if they keep the budget right, Paramount might be able to get a little franchise going here.
I mean, to me, that's a slam doink story for this movie, because I was not expecting anyone to predict that high If this movie
Yeah.
opens in the 20s and gets itself to 70 or 80, I mean, obviously not, we're not adjusting for inflation, but the original movie made 78 million at the box office,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
would be a lot bigger now.
Yeah.
But if this reboot gets itself to 70, that is a hit. I
Yeah.
think that is for sure they would sequelize this movie if it could get there. That would be an amazing sign. If this movie opens in the 20s, I'm doing handstands.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and Liam Neeson, we know he can do comedy. He was really funny in his Entourage cameo, the Entourage the movie cameo,
which we saw opening Thursday night.
Yes,
We could
Thursday
not
night.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hope is here, but there's nothing pointing me towards big screen comedy having a lucrative comeback at the box office. There's no cultural indications. There's no buzz on the street that I'm hearing from the
People
teens
love the
and the
OJ,
tweens.
the OJ
Yeah.
sequence
They do.
in that.
They
in
do
that
love
trailer.
it, but I'm
That
talking
got
the
buzz.
people who are the people who will make this a hit are gonna be young people. Those are who are gonna make this a breakout hit, right?
But it's up to us, the oldsters. And this is Naked Gun.
Yep.
If you go back to it, if you ask anybody, like, what are your top 10 comedies? It's like Airplane or Naked Gun is in there, and so this is it. This is the chance to bring it back. If you get it, you bring it for the oldsters because we're showing up and hopefully we're taking our kids to this because look, the humor of Mr. One of the Lonely Islands, like it's still edgy, like, right? He shoots people, right? Like there's a lot of blood and violence jokes in here that I was like, oh shit, they went there. That's pretty over the top. Okay. So they're going above and beyond what Naked Gun ever did, in terms of, hey, we're trying to get these young kids. So we're going to make things that they will share on TikTok because they're so crazy, and that's what I feel like they're going for.
I think, and listen, Pop Star was not a hit, and that came out at the height of Lonely Island's popularity, but they are still, the young people do still like them and those videos. So I think there is a chance to glom onto that notoriety, and I think you got to evangelize and show the younger generation these Naked Gun films. I do think that is a something that our generation must step up to the challenge.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things our generation needs to do right now, but the number one thing is pass
Get
along
this.
the Naked Gun movies in these next 2 to 3 months to teens, people in their 20s. Make sure they see that. Make sure they see The Smell of Fear. They have to watch these movies. The third one, do they have to watch the third one?
No.
They have to watch it. Yeah, I think also watch that.
But if
But
this
the
doesn't
first two
work,
are perfect movies. Perfect
if
movies.
this doesn't
that we
work,
need to-
comedy is dead, right? Like what other
It's
comedy?
dead.
What other
it
comedy
couldn't
could
be
you bring
deader.
back? Yeah.
But that's the thing is, Jeff, it's already dead. Like it
But-
couldn't be deader. So
but
there's
this is
no
our
getting
chance.
deader.
This is our
This
chance.
is our
I
chance.
think.
This is our
Yeah.
chance. This is our chance.
So we
This
have
is
to
our
go to
chance.
playgrounds. You're saying we have to go to playgrounds
Yes.
and go to these kids and be like, "Would you like to see a Naked Gun?"
Yeah. Would
Yes.
you like to see an R-rated?
You have to do that for sure.
Yeah.
Clayton. You definitely have.
This
to.
is my
We will-
birthday movie. We're seeing this. This is my birthday movie. That's a coveted position on the
great.
calendar.
Yep.
My birthday movie. We're going to see Naked Gun.
Yeah.
We're all in.
We're all
Yeah.
in. I think Freakier Friday, and I have this movie on my team. I'm feeling like this is gonna be a huge disaster, especially that it opens the same weekend as Weapons, and it's not the
Yeah.
same crowd. But I think by the time we get to that weekend, pop culture is not going to care about Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan being together.
No.
I think that
No.
movie's a big nothing. But I'm glad it's in theaters and not dropping on D+.
Well,
Yeah.
isn't that also they swap with their daughter? No,
I
their
have not watched
daughter
the trailer
swap.
for it.
It's something. It's
It's a
it's
swap.
They better swap though. They
it's
better
too
swap.
confusing.
It's a twat swap. It's a twat swap movie. I just don't know which way they go.
Yeah.
Okay, that is maybe that is the log line that they're going to have to get to compete with Weapons.
I think.
Is that the Flyover State rebrand for that movie?
Yeah.
I-
Twat swap is basically.
But we don't know
That
which
gets
one.
you. I think that sells
But you
tickets.
don't know which one.
That sells tickets.
There's
Yeah, exactly.
nothing else in August that we haven't discussed that I think is going to be worth the darn. I mean, there's Nobody 2 comes out, and that's
We Love
another
Bob.
movie. That's a movie I dropped from our team.
Yeah.
We get one drop, and I dropped that for weapons about a month ago. I think Nobody 2 will do nothing. I think we love Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah.
But
Great man.
It's a $10 million opener, and then it fizzles out.
I think it makes less than the first one did. And the first one came out in like March of 2021 when people still weren't really allowed to go to theaters. And I do think the sequel does less.
Last question, though. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no. I was just one thing about Nobody 2. When I saw the trailer, did you guys see the trailer for this thing?
I haven't seen the trailer yet.
Okay. I don't know if it was just CinemaCon exclusive or not, but they go to this, like it's almost like it's a vacation. It's a vacation film. But their vacation they go to is like Portsmouth, New Hampshire, right? Where they have the arcade in Portsmouth where you walk down, and they got that great arcade on the side there. And that's where they kind of go for their family vacation. And then all hell breaks loose at this, at this boardwalk in New England. And to me, I spent one summer in New Hampshire and went to these boardwalks, and I thought it was amazing. And you guys grew up over there. Did you have that same experience? Did you guys get that boardwalk East Coast summer experience? And do you look back? Do you hearken back to those days? Does that draw you at all into this film?
I, of course, famously grew up in Brooklyn. I was raised on the boardwalk in Coney Island.
Yeah.
I mean, the freak shows and the Wonder Wheel, that was, the steeplechase. That was my upbringing on that boardwalk. Okay. I haven't seen this trailer yet, but if boardwalk is a big part of it, it's a bit of a draw to me for sure. But New Hampshire boardwalk, and I've been to Portsmouth, that's a draw for my wife. She's from New Hampshire. Okay. There's a chance.
This ain't down the shore, though.
This ain't down the shore. Yeah. I don't know. I think that movie's going to do complete nothing.
Now, Jeff,
I think the Bob Odenkirk in an action movie thing was a one-time charm, and I don't think anyone cares anymore.
Bus scene, one of the greatest action scenes.
Bus scene was great.
Of the last 20 years, maybe.
The movie was good. It was fine, but I think that was a one-time thing where people cared that Bob Odenkirk was punching people.
So to close out the summer, Toxic Avenger reboot finally coming out, Cineverse releasing it. Does this movie make over $1 million all in?
Oh man, it's got to. I would implore people to go see this film. Peter Dinklage I mean, come on, like
Jacob Tremblay is in this movie.
It deserves to open with at least 5 million. I'll say that. It deserves to open with 5 million.
Now, this is Cineverse, so this is the Terrifier distribution team.
Yes.
They know how to reach an audience.
Can they traumatize this and traumatize audiences and to get us? I mean, this is the last superhero movie of the summer, right? Like people say there's only 3, but there's actually 4 superhero movies. This is the last one. How do they advertise? How do they get people to go to this? I hope it works because I love this.
Will they make people puke?
Yeah.
That's the question. Will this movie make people puke, and can they get that out to the public?
Well, they've started to call it the unrated Toxic Avenger. I don't know if it's going to be released like that, but I've seen some pre stuff where they're actually going to change the title to the unrated Toxic Avenger. That to me, that's a big selling point.
I love it.
Do it.
And this is IP. It's the one trauma movie that actually matters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is exactly.
You don't think Samurai Cop matters?
I don't think Samurai Cop matters. I don't think Terra Firma matters.
Poultry Guys?
I don't think Poultry Guys matter.
All right.
This is the one.
Tromeo and Juliet?
Tromeo and Juliet is by far their best movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Written by James Gunn. Actually, legitimately a very good movie. I'm excited for this. I agree. I think Cineverse will get it to a couple million based on the controversy, based on the fact that no one wanted to release it. It was too wild for theaters.
Yeah.
I think the IP is familiar. They've heard of this before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited. Overall, summer 2025, I think it feels like May and June have a lot of seemingly solid hits coming out, a lot of product. And then July is 3 biggies that are not slam doinks, that are big swings. I mean, Jurassic Park, I do feel like is pretty solid.
It's the most
gonna
solid.
Do what it's going to do.
Yeah, exactly. The other two could hit really big, or you could fizzle out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think Fantastic Four 1,000% makes more money than Superman.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that that is my doink of the summer.
Yeah. I think
so you don't think Superman has the big upside. We think it has a potential upside. You don't think that?
I don't at all.
I agree with Clayton there. I've already put Fantastic Four ahead of Supes. So it's up to you. It's up to you, Pat, to do the trifecta here. Do you believe? Do you believe
in Superman?
That Fantastic Four makes more than Superman.
Oh, I mean, I have Fantastic Four as no lower than the third biggest movie this summer. I'm very high on these final steps.
So we are all in agreement. Steps. Yeah. So James Gunn will be contacting us all in our sleep.
Yes.
And it's such a shame because
hopefully with a sequel script for Romeo and Juliet, I would love to.
Yeah.
It is a shame though that if this movie doesn't do well, we're not going to see a Clayface movie.
Wow.
Or a Solomon Grundy movie.
Wow.
Well,
listen,
talk about hubris.
I'm just looking forward to Guy Plummer.
Guy Gardner.
Guy Gardner.
But also the Sergeant Rock movie now is not happening, so you saw this coming,
Clutching Pearls.
Yeah. We're already
Clutching Pearls a character?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is. Shrapnel is already hitting and Superman hasn't even opened yet. Are we really going to get Supergirl next summer if Superman doesn't do what it's supposed to do? This is all up in the air.
In the vault next to Batgirl. That is where that movie will end up. So I'm feeling good about this summer. Survive till 25 wasn't the case, but maybe it is. Maybe it is, because it does feel like there's not Fall Guys, Furiosas in here.
No.
I don't think there are. I think we're hitting the summer with a lot of momentum, and I think the May movies are looking good. The May movies are looking good.
There's no Grand Slam Billies like a Deadpool versus Wolverine or an Inside Out 2, but there are some stand-up triples.
Yeah.
Stand-up triple is a hard thing to do, and there's a lot of those this summer, and maybe a couple home runs too. Yeah. So I think it's a good. It looks like a good slate, but does it get to 4 billion? Yeah.
Inside Out 2 was not a slam doink Billy when we went to last summer.
It wasn't going in. Yeah, it wasn't going in. So maybe we get one of those. Studios have conservatively said maybe 3.3 billion this summer, which is really low. I think a lot of firms are projecting 4 to 4.2 billion this summer. So let's try to hit that 4. It might land at 3.75, but anywhere between 3.75 and 4 billion for the domestic summer would be great.
I'm going to say I think the one movie that could break out a la Inside Out 2 is How to Train Your Dragon. I think that could be the surprising juggernaut of wow, we knew this was going to be big, but we didn't know this was going to be this big.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, and if it has a TikTok sort of gentle Munions, a CJ screening type phenomenon that we don't see coming, but Christopher and the guys at his frat see coming, that they're hanging upside down by their feet doing keg stands, but they know that there's some kind of big viral moment about to happen with How to Train Your Dragon, then that is a Billy.
Mm-hmm.
That is a Billy.
I will say we haven't touched on, there's one more film that I think could actually take the box office crown. A lot of people have probably underestimated this from the get-go, but we have the 30th anniversary re-release of Waterworld coming out this summer, guys. And that is on July 28th. Back in 1995, me and like 7 other guys were the only ones in the theaters watching Kevin Costner's Opus be released. It was me and 7 in Bozeman, Montana, me and the 7 guys, and we all loved it. We were at that, that 2 p.m. screening on Friday, because they didn't do the Thursday nights before that. They didn't even do midnights for most of these films. So you had to get that early Friday afternoon film if you wanted to see it first. And man, me and those 7 guys, I bet it'll be the same me and those 7 guys for the 30th anniversary re-release on July 28th 2025, guys. I will be in Eastern Washington. If nobody else shows up, yeah, I mean, you guys are invited. I'm going to have a screening on the water at my cabin in Eastern Washington. It will be screened on the water. You can only float in a boat or you can float in the water, whatever you want to do. But just know that there are a lot of sunfish and bluegills, and they do snap at you a little bit out there, but it's worth it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, guys, that's an official invite to anybody listening to the BO Boys. Contact me or contact the BO Boys if you're in the Pacific Northwest. At the end of summer, we're going to do the Waterworld 30th anniversary screening. I don't know if Universal's planning anything. I'm planning it. It's going to be big.
Nice.
I can't wait. Listen, I saw Waterworld in the movie theaters. Myself,
yes.
Frankie Emilio. We saw that in Bensonhurst in 1995.
How many guys were with you, do you think, overall?
It was a pretty much empty theater, I would say.
Yeah. So 7 guys.
But we were there. We were there because it was a big movie.
Great, guys.
And you got to go to a movie. So thank you, Jeff, for, I think this became a triple issue episode of the BO Boys. I would say probably our biggest summer movie preview episode of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've done it.
It had to be.
Incredible. Of course, follow you at ERC Box Office on Twitter X. Anywhere else that the Wanna BO Boys, Wanna BO Girls, Wanna BO people should be following your work, your
Jump
music.
on the Blue Sky. I'm on the Blue Sky, Twitter X. Those are the places. Catch me spouting off about summer box office all summer and mostly Waterworld. Once we hit July, it'll almost exclusively be 30th anniversary Waterworld talk.
Amazing.
And if you're into that, go up. Yeah.
Amazing. Of course, follow the BO Boys at the BO Boys Pod across all platforms. Maybe not all platforms, but the ones that we're on.
Mm-hmm.
Subscribe to the Substack. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are YouTubers. Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
So you got to see. I mean, if you've listened to this 3-hour episode, now go back to the beginning on YouTube. Watch the whole thing. See our beautiful punums right here on the YouTube channel. 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Give us your thoughts on this triple issue episode, summer movie preview, the BO Boys podcast@gmail.com. And guys, that is all I got. I am spent.
Well, I finished.
Right?
And you've said it all, Pat. There's nothing left to be said.
Nothing left to say.
Except for, until next time, we'll smell you at the box office. Nailed it. Hey, guys.